no countdown? All right.
Whoa. All right, we are here, crunch time with Jeff Iafrate, Booner, Lukas Klotz, and Michael Gentry. Yeah, the countdown situation there, that was a disaster. I forgot about the countdown. Some reason in my mind, there's the button that says live. I thought when you click live, the countdown just happens. I forgot. It's been a little bit.
All right, it's all right.
Hey, it was a big, long day. We were up at like 5 a.m. just absolutely going through it at Lions training camp. Appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're here, hit the like button. We're about to get into all the stuff from the Lions training camp today. There's a lot of things going on around the NFL later. We have a bunch of – honestly, fellas, looking at the we have a packed show. There was conversations about Jared Goff that we heard about today, so we wanted to talk about that. We're doing Detroit Lions player stocks. Ben Johnson spoke to the media about some wide receiver battles, Jameson Williams. There's a lot of different things. Hey, the kick return stuff. Amon-Ra St. Brown, JMO, we're going to talk about that later. I know the fans love that conversation. But how are we feeling today, boys? How are we doing? Big day.
Doing great. Finally able to go down to Allen Park and see the fellas in pads. And I think what we saw, I don't think we learned a lot differently, but I think we got to experience a lot of the hype that has been going around the Detroit Lions. So being able to experience that, see the Lions out there. We saw Sheila out there. I see her actually getting out and embracing the fans and the experience out there, unlike the owners before her. But shout out to Sheila. And, just a good time and excited to get down with the fellas with the show. Well,
obviously, I wasn't able to go to training camp the last 2 days, so I'm going to be picking your guys' brain, obviously, throughout the whole show, asking you guys stuff. But I'm hyped. Obviously, it's our Friday show. The boys are leaving tomorrow, so it's going to be a good one. Like Boone said, jam-packed. Got a bunch of good topics.
Yeah, I see people asking where Jeff is. Jeff he just had some prior stuff, just things that he already had planned and he couldn't cancel it. So he's just kind of off doing that for tonight. So we'll hold it down for the fellas. And I think it's a perfect show because we have we were at training camp and then Gentry has a lot. He's going to ask us a bunch of questions about training camp, and I think it's actually a good thing too, Gentry, because you could be as well the questions you have, but a voice for the people in the chat, because I'm sure 80% of the chat didn't make it to training camp today or at all this week. And in 4 of the 6 days of fans being able to attend were this week, and they're done. So there's not a lot of days left for fans to attend. So I think that'll be good for us. We did meet some fans and some, I guess I want to say listeners. Fans sound weird to me. Listeners, people who watch the show and support us, which was awesome today. And then obviously tomorrow we don't have a show too. We're going to be the boys. We're taking a trip to Nashville, Tennessee. I think it's Nashville, Tennessee, boys. It's going to be our last trip. I was thinking about it today too. After this weekend, this is the last empty weekend for the next 30-something, 35, 40 weeks of football. So it's this is the last free weekend we'll have until probably the end of February. It's crazy to think about.
Hey, but it means business, Boone. And I mean, honestly, life is so much better when NFL is going on. So I really don't even care. I think my favorite 6 months of the year are NFL season. So it feels like a vacation for 6 months. Obviously, we're working, but when we're doing what we love, having supporters that we do have, Boone, it ain't going to be a thing. Ain't going to be a thing.
Yeah, and Boone, obviously, football started today. We got the
right now
game.
I can.
Booner, did you put any bets in?
I did not. I didn't even think about the bet. I don't know how I did it. And you know what? We're going to do it. I might look at it. I don't know if you did any or any of the people in the chat did, but I am going to pull up my app here, and while we kind of get going and rolling on things, it's the first football game of the season, so I feel like it's honorary, I have to do it. So I will place a live bet out of pure respect for the gamblers out there, for the people.
I appreciate that.
Gentry, what did you take? Did you take anything?
I didn't take anything. I knew you would bet on this, but
Boone, look at some lines. I can give you some advice.
This is a Booner special. I don't bet on the preseason, but I know Booner does, so I had to ask.
Is it only spread?
I usually bet on the preseason, but it's not only spread. But the problem is, you just don't know. Like there's 2 preseasons ago or a couple preseasons ago, I think like all the unders hit, and then like I think it might have been last year or the year before, like all the overs hit, or like 80% of the overs. So it's like you
Do
just
they have
no
player
clue.
lines?
Probably they probably
I don't
If
think
there
they
is,
do, to
you
be
bet
honest.
you bet Tyler Scott over. You bet
Yeah.
Tyler Scott for the Bears. You bet is over.
Actually, I don't think they have the player
I don't
lines.
think they do either, because
But we could take the
obviously
over
players
in a
rotate someone.
team.
What are they, Boone?
I don't know. The game line for tonight is the Houston Texans are -2.5 point favorites, and the over under is 33. We'll see.
Wait, the
Maybe
Bears
I will.
play, don't they?
Hey,
Bears
Boone.
Texans. Yeah.
Booner, we have a question in the chat.
No Coach Boone this week, boys. We've decided the setup with us leaving this weekend, and today being at training camp. I was running around everywhere trying to get prepared for the weekend, and we were in Allen Park. It was like I ran out of time today. I was running around. I ran out of time. So no Coach Boone. Maybe Sunday. Maybe
Bye week.
Sunday.
That's all it is. Bye
Yeah,
week.
Bye week. I like that.
Players
Cox.
are resting. Players are getting healthy. They'll be right back at it next Sunday and Friday.
Sunday and then next Friday and then the next Sunday. We'll be off and rolling. All right, Klotzy, let's do this and let's do your takeaways here for training camp. I'll pull it up. I've got it already here. And we'll get into our training camp kind of takeaways. I think that's the perfect way to start the show, to be honest, is just to like show what we saw today. And honestly, we'll go over yours, Klotzy, and then we'll go right into mine, and then we'll break them down. Gentry, if he has questions, and if the chat has any questions.
Yeah,
we'll
Chad, if you have any questions along with me, I will write some down as we go. But if you have any, put them in the chat, and I will put them up for the boys.
And we probably have some pretty similar ones, Klotz, but we also go over mine and break how kind of my point of view of them, and we'll go through it like that. But here we go. Klotzy, take the floor.
Definitely. Booner, I'm sure you're going to preach on this just as well, but I think the guy that's been stealing the show, at least this week for the Detroit Lions in the secondary, has been Ennis Rakestraw. And I think we talked about it already. When pads go on, players like Ennis Rakestraw get better. He had another interception today, but he's holding his own, and he's making plays consistently against the twos. Now, you can say, well, it's against the twos. Well, when you're making plays consistently, how do you think you get moved up to the ones? And with the veterans that he has around him and just the natural instincts that he has, I do not think he's going to have any trouble significantly adjusting to the ones. And I think this is going to be a guy that continues to shine during camp. And on the offensive side, I mean, we've been talking about it probably more than any player on the line so far this offseason. Jamison Williams, the hype is absolutely legit. He was out there. He's catching balls with Antoine Randall really before practice got started by the field by himself. And you can just see in his route running with his hands, everything just looks more refined. And you can tell that he's just really dove in this offseason at refining his game and adjusting the little things, because that's all he had to do. Sticking with that receiving core, Therese Fontaine, Boone, or Fountain. I say Fontaine now because we messed up. Yep. Therese Fountain, I mean, he's going to be at least getting some snaps with this team. I don't see a way that he's not making this roster, and he is a lot bigger than I thought in person. I thought he was going to be a tall guy but skinnier, but no. When you see him lined up right next to DPJ, Boone, we were talking about, there's really not that much of a difference size-wise. So when I look at Therese Fountain, oh my God, he's making plays with the ones too. Like, yeah, he's out there. DPJ's running routes with the ones, but he's not making any catches. Fountain, he's consistently making plays, and I think he has some versatility in the slot as well. So he's a guy that I see making the roster 100%. I could see making plays in the season. And then Jeff's not here, but Hendon Hooker and Gentry, I know you weren't there. It's rough. And there's no – it's simple things. Like they're going through they're just going through slow developing routes in the offensive drills, and there's really just like walkthroughs. And the ball is hitting the ground on a drag route. He's playing, just working on his accuracy with one of the positional coaches in front of the field goal post, and he hits the field goal post damn near. Booner pointed out to me, it's like he can't hit the simple things, and I think he's just lacking some confidence right now. That's the only thing I could think it is. Like Hendon Hooker, the talent is obviously there when you watch him in college, but I think mentally with his confidence, that's where it's struggling. So Hendon Hooker, without a doubt, the quarterback 3 and his accuracy, if he wants to play in the NFL, has to improve. And then Levi O, I'll let Boone cook on this because I know that's going to be his thing. But the hype, I think it's legit, because when you watched him, he looks explosive. He would have had a sack today as well, but obviously they're not going to let him hit Jared Goff. But he's definitely be a guy that's going to be rotating this year.
I like it, Klotzy. I think we have, honestly, and I'll pull mine up here now. I think we have pretty similar takeaways, to be honest. Oh, and I want to mention too. I know you guys see on my screen here. We have the little BetUS here. Today is our first day with our very first sponsor, which is BetUS. So we did kind of warn you guys a little bit that there are going to be some type of like commercials and ad reads. Today we will have two ad reads and 2 commercials. So we're going to hit those at some point throughout the show, just so you guys know. Let me pull mine up here though. Let me pull my takeaways here. All right, boys. We got to go back to this screen so we can pull this up. I can be on the screen. All right. So my takeaways, Klotzy, I think, like I said, we had very, very similar takeaways. The first one here I put on here that kind of stood out a little bit, and it's interesting to me what's going on with the safety room, because when they did walkthroughs, it was weird. Like the days have been different. Like today they did walkthroughs at the beginning. It was Brian Branch and Iffy with the 1s, and Kirby was with the 2s. And then when they went full on 11 on 11, it was right back to Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, and Iffy was running with the 2s. So like I think like Brian Branch and Kirby, when they were out there in 11 versus 11s, like they looked. They just like what you expect. Brian Branch is all around the field. I think Brian Branch had a pass break up in the end zone. Like these guys are all over the field. So I think it's like it is worth the hype. These two, I'm just interested to see what happens with Iffy. Like if he's able to somehow snag a spot and get some snaps. Secondly, Klotzy brought it up, guys. Darius Fountain. This guy, I said I've already claimed yesterday when we did our depth chart. I said he is going to be starting for the Detroit Lions. He's going to be wide receiver 3-4. We went back today and in practice, like yesterday, he was running with the 1s and it was walkthrough. And we were like, all right, don't give it too much credit. Like, let's not think about it too much. Let's go tomorrow and see what happens when they're live. When they were live, guess who was one of the first? It was Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Darius Fountain. And guess who was getting targets? Darius Fountain. And that's like the biggest thing. Someone, I can't remember who brought it up. It might have been the doc, but he mentioned like, you see all these other guys getting in on action on these live reps. They're really not getting that many targets. But when Darius Fountain's in the game or playing, that man gets targets. Jared Goff looks at him, and the number one thing, we're going to hear it later in the show, Ben Johnson said the thing they're looking for in that wide receiver 3 is someone who's consistent. Darius Fountain does not drop. He has not dropped passes. Like he catches everything, and he's consistent. He's trustworthy. The Jameson Williams stuff, obviously, like Klotz talked about it. This guy, his energy level is different. Like he's taken a whole 360. You remember camp last year? Every single thing that was happening, Klotz, we watched an old video and it was talking about how every single negative thing was coming out of Jameson Williams. Drop pass, getting in a fight at practice. Like, all these negative things. This year, it's literally all positives. This guy is talking to people. His energy's high. He's making plays. I love the Jameson Williams hype. I think people are going to be very surprised with what JMO does this year. I think people are, as much as the hype he's getting, I think it's getting a little underwhelmed too, because I think he's going to have a really big year based off the energy. Next one, Ennis Rakestraw. Boys, I said it yesterday. I think Ennis has a chance to be able to start at the nickel. My only thing is, and we're going to have a whole segment about the secondary in a little bit, is this guy is not getting any opportunities with the 1s, and he is just showing out with the 2s, like showing out. He has the most interceptions at practice so far in training camp, and he is everywhere, all over the field, whether he's playing outside nickel, whatever it is at safe or in that second group. That man is everywhere. Next one, Levi O, boys.
Go ahead, Boone.
Klotzy. I know we went at it a little yesterday. One of the most asked questions on my Twitter, and I've seen in the chat today since we've started, is the Levi O hype real? I'm going to tell you guys right now, Levi O is an absolute dog. Like this is not a joke. Like, public service announcement: Levi Onwuzurike is the real deal. Like, this dude is going to. Levi O is going to make an impact on this football team, whether you think it's a lower rotation or a higher rotation. This man, it will make an impact. And we were like, all right, going into today, let's just see what he does. That defensive line was dominating all day, and one of the main people in front of it was Levi O. And like, there was even he would have got a sack on Jared Goff at one point throughout the practice when he was going. He just bull rushed, got through on the edge. He was playing on the edge, got through, and just an easy right to Jared Goff, and they had to blow the whistle dead because he would have sacked him. Like, this guy is, the hype is real. He's massive out there. They've had him on the edge now. They've been moving him around inside and outside, but I think majority they've had him on the edge. And today they were rotating Davenport in a little bit more with that. But the Levi O hype is real. We're just going to put it at that. If anyone has a question with it, you can message me on Twitter and we can have the conversation. There is no conversation, actually. Don't message me. It's real.
I think the more I think about it, Boone, because I know you expect him to start at least week 1, and I'm not there. I don't think I'll ever be there. I definitely want Davenport out there just because of the versatility. I think Levi's a little bit more limited, but I think a good comparison for what Levi O could be this year is when the Lions first got A'Shawn Robinson. I believe it was a 2nd-round pick. It was out of Alabama, and he was a guy that I think fits a lot of what Levi O does, and he had about 1.5 sacks to 2 sacks every season. Now that's not going to show much production-wise, but an interior defensive lineman, as long as you're making your presence felt, I think that's where that value is. And at the end of the day, on a rotation, I think Levi O is definitely a guy who can make a presence consistently. Obviously you can upgrade, but it doesn't look like Brad Holmes is going to do that. And if Levi O continues to show out, that's all you can hope he can do. So let him go get his more reps and more reps and more reps. I'm just not to the point where I want to see him out there starting. If he earns it and through time, but week 1, I don't know if I'm there yet.
Like this, Weezy D, shout out Weezy D 313 for tuning in. He said, "But Boone, how could he make an impact? He hasn't done anything. Since he's been here." That's the thing where I think people need to a little bit. And Klotz, I think you've been good with this, as kind of putting that in the past, because there is that sense, and you're starting to hear it a lot with the Lions and players and coaches and all these things. Like that back injury was brutal. Like he went through a ton with that back injury. I think that's something that's now in the past, that like there's no worry with the back injury anymore. Like all the conversations that have been had is that he's had his surgeries, he's rehabbed, and he is a fully healthy player now. And him being healthy, you guys already know what he was coming out of college and getting drafted. Like everyone knows the upside that he had and what he was supposed to be. Someone in the chat said he was supposed to be better than Ali McNeil. So like now that he's fully healthy, you're going to start seeing his upside and what he was supposed to be, what he can be. And I think that's like at training camp, these flashes that you're seeing, the reason that they're starting to kind of put a little bit more into that, I think it's because they're like, oh, this dude's fully healthy. He just doesn't have any more options. So shout out Gun Guy.
And kind of to your point, shout out. When at least, because obviously Booner is very pro Levi, and I'm kind of trying to be more pro. If you're kind of questioning Levi like I am, what I always remind myself is like, who else is going to step on the interior of this defensive line for the Detroit Lions when it comes to the depth? Like the Detroit Lions, when you talk about the tweeners, they have a lot of guys there, but none of them are really proven. Josh Paschal is not proven. Levi Onwuzurike isn't proven. Broderick Martin isn't proven. None of these guys are really proven. So someone has to prove themselves. And so far, it's Levi O. And it's not going to be, to my point, I don't think it's going to be a significant impact. But at the end of the day, somebody's going to be an impact. And it looks like it's going to be Levi O, right?
Klotz, like I get that actually. But for me, it's just more so like like you said, there's going to have to be someone to fill that out. Davenport, if he's healthy, he's probably taking that edge spot. And then you have, let's say, DJ Reader, if DJ Reader's healthy for week 1, or Broderick Martin. Maybe DJ Reader isn't, but Broderick Martin and DJ Reader. You're going to like Levi's probably going to have to play outside a lot more than he probably would want to. But again, like some of the reps he was playing today, he was inside and he was dominating. Like some of those, those guards can't. He's for his size, he's a little bit more quicker, in my opinion, for that size. So he's able to kind of overpower and get through guys. So I don't know. I think it would be interesting to see those rotations, because they're going to need someone to rotate with Davenport on the edge. And outside of like a James Houston, but he's going to be playing like a Sam. Who do you really trust to say, hey, we need to get him in for Davenport? It's probably going to have to be Levi. He's going to have to be.
Levi, I think when he plays edge, I think it'll be one situationally, but more important schematically. Like when they do edge, I think that's when you bring like Derek Barnes down at the Sam or James Houston down at the Sam, and that's when you have Levi out there. That's when, if you're going to do that, I think when Levi's on the inside, that'll be in their base formation. When DJ Reader needs a blow, okay, bring Levi, bring Broderick in. But right now it looks like Levi's leading that. And then when they go into the kind of like the nickel packages, that's when you bump Levi out to the 3-tech, 5-tech, whatever you want to do, and you leave Aleem and DJ on the outside or on the inside, and you can put Hutch on the outside as well. So when they start doing those type of sets, that's when I think Levi will be out there. I don't think Levi's ever going to be a guy that's just, all right, put him on the edge, let him set the edge, just because in getting to the quarterback, I don't think he has the speed to do that. I don't think he's that quick. He is quick for inside speed, but on the edge, I don't think he's there.
That's where I think it gets interesting. It's like, can we hit this?
No, BMG. There we go.
That's where it's going to be a little interesting to me, though. It's like they're going to be able to. That's why it's flexible for him. Like Davenport, like I feel like that rotation's a little bit more flexible. I don't know. It was interesting to see at camp the lineups that they threw out there with that, because essentially, and did you hear what Zeitler said about Levi?
I did not. So you put it in there, but I never, like, I tried looking for it. I couldn't find it.
Let me pull it up here real quick, because Kevin Zeitler was actually asked about this, and he wasn't specifically asked about Levi Onwuzurike, but they had asked him. I'm trying to share. They had asked him about, like, hey, how's this defensive line going? Like, what's your thoughts on this defensive line? And what he brought up was very interesting. I'm trying to get this in here. All right, here we go. I got it. Let me pull it up now. This is interesting, Klotzy, because he came out. They said Colton Pouncey. Shout out Colton too, by the way. Does a great job. He said Lions guard Kevin Zeitler asked for his thoughts on Detroit's defensive line. His comments after just asking about the Detroit defensive line was, I think we're going to have two $20 million plus defensive tackles soon. And so that he got followed up with to ask, like, who was he talking about? And Kevin Zeitler came out and said Lee McNeil and Levi Onwuzurike.
I mean, that makes perfect sense if that's how they want to follow up with the DJ Reader move. But Levi, he's got to prove it. If he does, that would be something, because I think Levi is a guy that you're going to get on a second-round pick. But if he performs at a high level, you're not going to pay him as much as you originally would have had to if he would have played his whole contract out. So if that happens, the Lions, when you look at, okay, you have Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Jack Campbell, Aiden Hutchinson, Ali McNeil, and Levi Onwuzurike to possibly be able to fill in that next gap where you don't have to go draft a defensive tackle anymore. You can just let that position be for the next 3 years. I mean, that's a scary situation to be in. I'm happy that they're going to try to stick him at the defensive tackle spot specifically if they go that way. Just because, okay, now go get an edge next. You have defensive tackle 1, you have defensive tackle 2, you have the edge with Hutch. The only spot you have to address now is that edge position. So yeah, it'd be exciting to see.
And there's a big edge class coming in too, I believe. I believe this next year's edge class is big. I just think it's interesting to me. Like, and this is like the Levi O stuff that I keep getting these arguments. And I don't even know if me and you are getting these arguments anymore. I think it's just more so some people commenting where, like, oh, Booner, you're too high on Levi O. I take a lot of account into what people who are in the building say. Like, I really do, especially in training camp, when you can't, like, we can't be in the building every day. We can't go out and talk, like, watch film. We can't go interact with these guys. We only get a certain amount of times we can. And when you hear just consistently teams or players get asked about defensive line, coaches get asked about the defensive line, and there's the same name just keeps getting brought up. And it's not like this is like something to where, you know, they're PR trained, or where they're like, hey, the line's like, hey, everyone has to answer Levi Onwuzurike to this question. Like, no, that's not it. These guys are going up against these guys for the last 8 or 9 days in practice. And Kevin Zeitler's like, hey, I think we have another $20 million defensive tackle here. And Levi
He's played
Onwuzurike
on some teams too. I mean, think he played on the Browns, and you look at their defense. I know it was a while ago, but the Browns have had a solid front seven for a while. He just came from the Ravens. Look at their front seven. And even the Giants, when he was there, wasn't a great front seven, but it was a very solid front seven. So Kevin Zeitler, he's practiced and played against some great defensive tackles in the NFL. So if you think Levi's a guy that can go out and get 20 mil, it's speaking, Boone. It's speaking. Lining with the Booner path, I would say.
It is for sure. And then, like this, like Coach Walk, what a legend. Booner, you're high on everyone when it comes to the Lions. That's false, because there are people on this show today that I'm going to talk about that I'm out on. We have a buy and sell segment. I'm going to be out on a handful of guys. Like, I'm done. I'm over it. I don't want to hear about them anymore. I'm done. So I don't think that I'm just Coach Walk. The last 2 years, the Detroit Lions have been so good, and the guys I've been high on, they end up working out. That's what happens. You know, I've got a nice. So I'm starting to think this a little bit, Klotzy. Starting to feel like I'm seeing the ball really well. You know, like when
you're hitting a great average right now when it comes to this offseason. You're hitting at a spectacular rate.
I'm seeing the ball. It's like I'm getting a fastball every single time down the middle, and I'm swinging at it. Just home run. I don't know what's happening here.
I think the only one, and we'll get into it, I think there's one miss that's definitely going to come out of it. Maybe two, but I think one for sure, and one's kind of iffy, but I think there'll be times in the season where you are right. Just not as much as you think.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
The kick return one.
I think I'm going to be right on that. After what we saw
I disagree. We'll get into it later, but
after what we saw, we do have a segment on that.
we'll get into it, but
other thing here, just real quick with training camp that I had on here. was the secondary, Klotzy, and I just want to get your thoughts on what you saw today, because like I thought the two things were interesting. We already talked about brought up the Brian Branch and the safety stuff, but the nickel position, that's been like Amik Robertson, Emmanuel Mosley, and my guy Ennis Rakestraw that I'm gonna die on the hill for. Ennis Rakestraw. Those guys are like battling it out right now. What are your thoughts on that? And like, what did you think today coming out of that? Like, who's gonna get the job? Because
I think we got a really good look at these guys, especially in the one-on-one drills. We talked about Rakestraw and J-Mo, but we didn't talk about what they were doing in the initial one-on-one periods when they're doing the open field tackling. And the first one, Jameson Williams absolutely trucked Ennis Rakestraw. Couple snaps go by. J-Mo and Rakestraw up again. Now Rakestraw plants J-Mo. So you see these two young guys battling. And then you go to watch J-Mo in the one-on-ones. He goes up against Amik. Amik absolutely bodied J-Mo one of the one-on-one reps. Emmanuel Mosley, he didn't really stick out today, but he definitely didn't stick out in a bad way either. He kind of held his own, just was kind of a vet out there. But when you look at Ennis and you look at Amik, I think you can just see how hungry those guys are to get the number one spot. And especially with Amik, he knows that, I mean, he's acknowledged it already in press conferences. He knows they're in a competition. You can just tell by the way that he's playing. He did great when it comes to one-on-one coverage and zone coverage. You couldn't really see him against the run, but I think as the season goes on, Amik Robertson, Ennis Rakestraw, Emmanuel Mosley, all three of those guys are going to be playing a ton of snaps. The question that it really comes down for, because if those guys are playing, where does Ife Melifonwu kind of fall into the fold? And Ife hasn't been really sticking out, but I don't think there's any reason to be worried about Ife. I just think it's one of those things where when Ife's on the field, he's going to be on the field and he's going to make plays. But I think there's a four-way race for nickel right now, and all three of those cornerbacks right now look hungry for that position. It's going to be interesting because I know Jeff brought up the point that you said I could see Rakestraw being out there week one, but then he's like, I don't know about having two rookies. At this point, whoever Aaron Glenn feels is the best out there at nickel position, I do not care because I trust it 100%, because once you see this competition going on, you're like, wow, these are three damn good football players just to go at the nickel spot, let alone at the outside corner spots.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing with the nickel, Klotzy, and I like your kind of mindset with that, to where whoever wins that spot is going to end up like you have the best player, and then you still have guys rotating in when you do need it, a rate, whether it's a Rakestraw or a Mosley if Amik wins it. The thing for me, I want to get a true look. Like we were having the conversation today about Ennis Rakestraw while he was out there, and they just are keeping Rakestraw with the twos right now. And they're not really, like right now, it feels like it's more so of a battle between Amik Robertson and Emmanuel Mosley. But Rakestraw is absolutely dominating with the twos in defense. And he's getting multiple interceptions. He's breaking up plays. Like he is doing everything he can, I feel like, to show like AG and Dan, like, hey, like, can you give me a shot with the ones? Like, let me go out there and prove myself with the ones. I can hold my own. And they just haven't yet. And I know it's not even 2 weeks in. But I think, and I would think, Klotzy, after what we saw today, like he was all over the field, felt like he had a breakup. I believe he did, and then he had his interception.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it feels like after that, it's like you have no choice but to get this guy on the field and say, let's put him with the ones and get him a couple reps here. Like, let's see what he can do.
You know what I'm gonna be waiting for out of Rakestraw? Remember against the Giants, the preseason game that we went to, Cole Beasley caught a pass out in the flat, and Brian Branch absolutely leveled him. And that's the moment where you're like, oh, shit, like this guy's legit, because Cole Beasley was like an 11-year NFL vet that was just a shifty, crafty vet. And I think that Ennis Rakestraw, he's going to have a play like that this preseason. And once that happens, I think that confirms not only – I think coaches know how good this guy can be, but they're kind of pushing off on playing him right away because you're not in a position where you have to. So the more refined you can get him before you put him out there, that's great. But if there's a guy that's making plays like that, I mean, boom. He's, to me, after watching today – outside of Terrion, the most intriguing rookie to watch on the defensive side of the ball. Not even rookie, but just secondary play.
I didn't even think of that. Like Brian, again, like last year, Brian Branch was in the position to where he was playing. Brian Branch was playing in preseason games when typically like a guy like him, they might have him sit out. He played in a preseason game and dominated. So I'm going to say this, fellas, like, I'm not going to fully die on the Rakestraw hill because, again, he is a rookie, so he's probably not going to have he hasn't had the opportunities, and the opportunities he's had, he's dominated in them. But I'm just, that's something to keep an eye on is Ennis Rakestraw taking that spot. Like I just wouldn't be shocked. Like
it's a matter of time.
Yes. And this is the thing too. Like, I don't think like the Amik Robertson, it's not against Amik Robertson or Emmanuel Mosley. Amik Robertson has grinded in the NFL to get a spot in the NFL and get kind of. You're cold. Great haircut. Shout out Spencer. Cut our hair today. I think we officially have a look at this.
Yeah, we're looking good, Boone. Looking good.
I got the mullets back there too. The mullet is growing out.
Yeah,
I think we have an official barber of Crunch Time Sports. I think it's Spencer. What a legend, dude. He watches the show. So shout out to Spencer.
We made a bet if Michigan wins somehow this year that I have to get the block M on the side.
I think it has to be like this, like right in the back, like as big as possible.
I wear a hat then. Side would be the worst.
Side would be funny, dude. I think anyway it would be funny. That would be great. No, I just think, hey, real quick, the last thing with this, the Amik Robertson, like Amik and Emmanuel. Emmanuel obviously is coming off some surgeries, but he could still be his old self. I've said that already before. And Amik has been a guy that's like grinded his way to have a spot in the NFL and to be playing football. So like these guys deserve it, but I do think there is a side to where Ennis Rakestraw's ceiling might just be higher than these guys. And when he starts to get close to it and starts to build up like Brian Branch did, I don't think there's like a way to where it's like, yeah, this is the guy. And they've been very, very fast with going, we don't really care. We're going to play the best players. They've never sat back and go, we're just going to play our guys.
Yeah, and the thing that we also have to keep in mind with this, especially with Rakestraw, like he's an experienced guy. All three of these corners, Rakestraw in college, Mosley with the 49ers, and then Robertson last year with the Raiders. All three of these guys were perimeter corners before coming with the Detroit Lions. Obviously, they played some nickel, but making the full transition to nickel, that's something none of these players have ever done. So it almost gives Rakestraw the advantage where, not an advantage, but gives him a little bit more of a closing the gap than you would originally think there. So if he starts making plays quick and the other guys are slacking behind a little bit, Boone, we could see week one with Rakestraw out there, and I would not be mad whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's do this, Klotzy. I'm gonna we're gonna hit this ad real quick, the BetUS ad. Right. When we come back from this ad, though, what we're gonna do is two things. If you guys want right now, I know Gentry has some questions possibly about training camp, and if you guys have any questions in the chat when it comes to training camp, anything that we might not have touched on through this, or any players you want to know about, drop them in the chat. We'll star them and we'll try and answer some. And then I also, Klotzy, I have a question for you and Gentry, defensive question here. You guys probably saw it in the prep, but I have a question for you guys now that news is coming out of camp and we're starting to get a little bit of feel of what this defense is about. I've got a little bit of news on that. So we'll kind of do that. Make sure right now you guys start dropping your questions there and bring those questions so we can answer those. But let me tell you guys, ready, Klotzy? BetUS. We appreciate BetUS for sponsoring the show. Proudly sponsored by BetUS with the fastest payouts in the industry and 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000. Boys, you guys know I'm a betting guy, so BetUS, getting a betting sponsorship is unbelievable. It's the go-to for all Detroit Lions and NFL-related bets. Not to mention, boys, 24/7 customer service. That's happened to me and other places before. Bad service. No, they have good customer service, live wagering on all major games. And if you lose, they will also give you 10% back on your net losses twice a year. Check out our BetUS link. It is in the description below. I think we already put it in there. And make sure you guys check BetUS out. If you guys are looking for some sort of a book to use for the NFL season, make sure you check out BetUS.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sports book and casino.
All right, boys.
How about that, Boone?
All right, boys.
Hey, Boone, you crushed. You crushed, Boone. As always.
We got to get this off, my lord.
Whoa, what was that?
I know we might not all like commercials, but that just made me extremely happy. Feels like we're taking a step for the pod. That helps fund the pod. I know a lot of you guys already know, but we got demonetized off YouTube, so we're trying to fight that battle, and being able to get sponsors like this, it's huge for giving us money so we can get a studio, which is definitely the next step for us. So ads like that, it makes me happy, Bone.
Yeah, it's cool too. And I know people sometimes don't like ads and commercials. It's cool for us as a business to be able to start doing that. And we are going to have more, as much as people might not like it, as a part of the industry that, hey, we do have to progress a little bit, and we'll make sure we we're going to do not bets. We're going to do ads and sponsorships that we like can connect with and the people can connect with. And like we've already had we've had people reach out to us and we're like, hey, we don't want to do just random ads just to make money, but we want to be able to do stuff that we can actually support. So let's Gentry.
All right.
How did the BetUS ad go? You like that?
No, that was great, Boone. It's going to be even better when you're giving out the locks all football season. So that was a great first ad. That was legit. That was legit.
Mike Vick for the pregame bet slip, Boone.
Oh yeah. Shout out Mike Vick, great football player.
Absolutely.
What do you think, though, Gentry? What did you take away? Do you have any comments after when we talk about training camp?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys kind of talked a lot and you kind of repeated the same points. But Boone, this one's for you, and then Lucas, I'll have questions for you. Boone, how did your confidence level, or what is your confidence level on opposite side of Hutch? You know, after seeing Davenport, after seeing Paschal, after seeing James Houston. Did your confidence rise a little bit seeing those guys padded up, or was it kind of just a one-man show with Hutch?
I don't to be honest, today, Hutch didn't really I didn't see much of Hutch. I think Hutch was just Hutch today. Like he was getting to the quarterback, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, Hutch just got 2 sacks. He got a strip sack. He did this. He got a tip pass. He wasn't that crazy. But honestly, if I did like a out of 10, I would say my confidence levels before going into the training camp, it was probably like 3 out of 10, and I was a little worried. It's probably up to 7. And I don't think it's because we have a dude out there. It's just more so Davenport's healthy back. And I saw him play today, and he was out there just absolutely bull rushing people and being a dog. And, Levi Onwuzurike is coming along. And I know he's been having to play the edge position a little bit more. And since he's been playing it, his name's been in the papers on the front page, and people have been talking about him. So I'm confident on that. And James Houston as well. James Houston is back and healthy. I'm more confident. I'm a lot more confident than I was probably a month ago. I've gone from probably a 3 out of 10 all the way up to a 7 out of 10, just knowing. And because everyone is talking about this defensive line. Everyone. Coaches, players, everyone.
Kind of going with what Booner's saying, Gentry, what you can really tell is the impact of Terrell Williams. Like, you can just tell that these guys are just playing very free. They're just doing what they're told because they can trust what they're being coached. And they've already kind of spoke on that. But, I mean, even when you're at your boss, when you're talking to your boss at work for anybody, the more you can trust your boss, the more confidence you have in doing your job. And you can just see that in this defensive line group, whether it's the vets or the younger guys. You can tell that these defensive linemen are just playing free.
All right. So, Lucas, I know you talked about him a little bit earlier. Fountain, do you think that's like a legit option for wide receiver 4? Obviously, we were kind of under the impression that it would be DPJ. If that's not the case, are you comfortable? Obviously, we're not going to be asking too much for him as a wide receiver 4, but do you think that's a comfortable option? And just overall, your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think when you look at Fountain, he's a guy that when he's out there, I think he's going to kind of do – I spoke on it earlier either this week or last week, but he's going to do that what the Marvin Jones role was supposed to be in this offense, where he's out there. He's a bigger body guy. If you throw it to him 2 to 3 times a game, he's going to catch it. But people are saying he's wide receiver 3. Khalif Raymond is wide receiver 3 of this team. But Darius Fountain, he has that X build. He's a guy that has the same build as DPJ pretty much, and he's doing a lot more in camp. So when he's out there, until proven otherwise, he's a good route runner. He has soft hands. I don't think he's going to do much for you after the catch, but he's a guy that you can throw a jump ball up to. So when they ask him to do what he's told and just go out there and execute, I think he's a guy that's going to be able to do it. Maybe not to the highest level, but to a wide receiver 4 or 5 level, absolutely.
Can I just comment off that, the Khalif Raymond thing, and I talked with Jeff about this today because we were talking about wide receiver 3, 4, and who's going to make the team, who's going to be the guy out there. I think what people need to realize when it comes to this battle, right now, Ben Johnson, I think was the one that said it today too. He mentioned, and Klotz, this is at you because I'm the one too that says Khalif's wide receiver 3, in the depth, the 3rd best guy.
Yeah,
but Ben Johnson basically said today that, and I believe he actually said the word, a battle at wide receiver 3, and he named Antoine Green, Fountain, he named DPJ. And then what he said at the end with Khalif Raymond, and I think this is where people get a little bit offset with Khalif, is when you're looking at your lineup, you have Amon-Ra, you have J-Mo, and then you need that X guy. I think that X guy is what they're looking at, and the Lions are looking at as their wide receiver 3. And I'm starting to look at Khalif Raymond more so as a utility guy on this offense. to where he can do anything for you. And like it's very, very well known that he's a big piece. He doesn't have to compete for snaps. Like Khalif Raymond isn't going to have to compete for snaps. He's had like 400 yards in the last 3 seasons. He has been very consistent. Ben Johnson today said in his press conference that like we know Khalif Raymond's going to be a bigger part of this offense, and he's going to be he is already a massive part of this offense. So I don't want people to get like all up in this like 3-4. Like they're looking for a guy that can go out and play the X. They're looking for, like Ben said it today, they're looking for a wide receiver who's consistent, who you can rely on. And he said, if we're getting picky, we're looking at a guy that's a little bit longer. And you look like a Darius Fountain. Klotz, him and Antoine Green were standing next to each other. Those guys are bigger. They're big, they're long, like, and they can go make plays, and they're consistent.
You know.
So at least Fountain's consistent. So the wide receiver 3 battle is more so in my mind. If people say that, I think it's just more so for that X position, like that guy out there with J-Mo and Amon-Ra.
Mm-hmm. Spot on, Boone.
All right, Lucas, I already know you kind of talked about it, and you kind of fell into the trap too. But is the Levi hype legit? I mean, you've been kind of gassing up Broderick. We've been pushing for Broderick, but obviously to start the season, we're going to be out without DJ Reader. Are you going to be comfortable after seeing what you've seen today? Obviously, there's still a lot of time. You still got training camp, preseason, stuff like that. But do you think that's a valuable option?
I think when talking about Levi O as a rotational piece for this defensive line, I'm comfortable with it. One, because this line team doesn't have that much behind him. I mean, Levi O, and you look at Broderick Martin, Mekhi Wingo, Levi O is the one that's playing the best right now. If you're talking about Levi O as a starter, then I'm concerned. And not even for the Lions, it'd be for any NFL team. If you have him out of the edge, I feel like there's weaknesses in his game that he is going to get exposed to, just because he's not a guy that is an edge rusher. And if you're talking about him, like I said, at a rotational piece, from what I saw today, from all the reports coming out of camp, from hearing how the players and coaches are talking about him, I'm there, just not as a starter. I still think they need to go get another guy for that room.
Ooh, all right.
Booner, you want to chime in on that one?
No, I mean, I think like, I've said my piece on Levi O. This man has dominated, and people have already spoke about him. Like every time someone gets asked about the defensive line, they don't get asked by specifics, and they bring up Levi O through training camp. So I'll wait. I guess like if people, this is the thing that's happened with me with a lot of different things that I've spoken about. If people want to wait and see it in week 1 or week 2 or week 3, I'll sit here and wait, and we will do it. And then when it happens, if people want to move goalposts and say, well, we need to see it for 17 weeks. Oh, well, we need to see it at this different level now. Levi O was out there competing. He's doing something that people didn't think he could do. You know who the main guy was supposed to be? And no one's really hearing about is Josh Paschal and Josh Paschal. That Jeff looked at me today, and that was a Jeff Iafrate guy. I'm not going to go at Jeff here because he's not here. He can't defend himself. But Josh Paschal, is it Paschal or Pascal? Pascal. Josh Paschal was a Jeff Iafrate guy, and Jeff looked at me today and was like, dude, where has he been? No one's heard about this guy. Where has Pascal been? And I was like, yeah, honestly, like he's out there with the ones. He's repping with the ones. He's just not making plays. And Levi O's making plays. So it's like let's just call a spade of what it is. Guys who make plays are going to be the ones who compete and who are going to be consistent. So can I ask you guys a question here? Because this is one that I had in the
questions, Boom.
Did you want to do you have any more?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Ask your question.
I just want to ask
you want.
We just talked a lot about defense. So I just want to, like, this is the only question I had today that I was just like, I came out of today thinking about, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Do you guys, and people in the chat, if you guys want to chime in and put yes or no, do you guys actually think, like, with all the hype now coming out of the defense, because like Ben Johnson today came out talking about how great this defense has been, and how he came out, and the words he used was this defense has swagger, and they seem confident, and they're on a different level. And Dan Campbell came out yesterday, said the same thing, that he felt like this defense is completely different. Do we actually feel like this defense will be a top 10 defense? I know we asked the docket yesterday. None of us really commented on it. Is it like at that point to where like we came into camp and the only thing we knew we needed, like the Lions needed, was a defense? And you're almost 2 weeks in, and it's like the talk of town is the defense and how good the defense is. We haven't seen that in a long time. Do you guys get that? Or
I don't want to get down into the whole top 10 defense. I think they absolutely have the capability to do so. But when you look at it, I think if they have a top 10 caliber defense, I could see them finishing at 11. I could see them finishing at 12. I could see them finishing at 7. But the point is, this is a respectable defense, and I don't think it takes much more than 5 minutes of watching this defense with the number one offense of Detroit Lions to see that. I think there are some weaknesses that you could exploit with them, but every defense in the NFL has that. And I think what matters the most with this team is the chemistry that they do have. They have an identity of stopping the run, and they know exactly what their weakness is heading into the season, and they know that they addressed it, and they addressed it with some fucking dogs. And you look at, we talk about Levi. We talk about Mekhi Wingo. We talk about the guys that are kind of on the lower end of the totem pole of this defense, but they're still hungry and they can still make an impact. I think this defense is just going to be playing around the field. They're going to be cracking dudes. They're going to be making plays, creating turnovers. And when you give it to this offense, they're going to be burning the clock, and that's going to make the other quarterback have to throw the ball more. And I think going into this season, having confidence, it's okay. The quarterback for the other team, they're going to be trailing a little bit more, so the ball is going to be aired out. And you're thinking, oh, now we can create plays instead of having to worry about Kendall Vildor or Cam Sutton getting burned. That's what this team is. This is going to be a very good defense. I don't know about top 10. Do I have the confidence in them doing so?
Be bold, Klotzy.
I just know.
Don't walk the line.
They'll be a top 10 defense. I think they'll absolutely be a top 10 defense because they have all the parts that they need to. I don't think they're really elite at anything, but they're good at everything. And I think that matters when you have a good defensive coordinator like Aaron Glenn, because he's going to draw plays to do something for you.
Yeah, I think Lucas said it best. But Boone, I just had a question for you because I saw you tweeted about it earlier. Jared Goff kind of looks in midseason form. Just kind of give me your thoughts on him, how he was running the offense today, and kind of your confidence level in him with, taking another year in this offense and getting another year under Ben Johnson. How did Goff look?
I think Goff's a dog. Jared Goff's a dog. There was the conversation today. Shout out Easy. We were with Easy at training camp. And there was a lot of conversations going on about Jared Goff. Positive, negative, who knows? Jared Goff, and I want people to know this very, very clearly. I put this in my notes today. This man has full control of this team. He's the leader of this team. I am going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Jared Goff is going to take a big jump this year. And I think it's being with a guy like Ben Johnson for a year 3. Now he's with Amon-Ra St. Brown for another year. He's with Sam Laporta another year. Jameer Gibbs now he's added. That's going to take a step. There's offensive line, Kevin Zeitler, upgrade in my opinion from Jonah Jackson. Jared Goff is the absolute. He seems like he might be at the best point of his career. When Jared Goff says he's in his prime, he is in his prime, and he is absolutely dialed in, and he knows like. This is one of his best chances. He's been in a Super Bowl already. He just lost an NFC Championship game. This guy's looking for a Lombardi trophy. He's been looking for, like, when you're an NFL, you guys know this. All NFL quarterbacks want, you want the MVP. You want a Lombardi trophy. That's all that matters in your career. When people look at you, they get asked, how good of a player was he? How good of a player was he? Did he win a Lombardi? Did he win a Super Bowl? Does he have a Super Bowl MVP? Like that is the biggest question. And with quarterbacks, and I think Jared Goff, that's all that he worries about is bringing the city a Super Bowl MVP. A jump this year, guys. What did he have? 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns last year. He could go out there and get 4,800. I've said it before, 30 plus touchdowns again and less turnovers. I think he's dialed into where I don't see him going out there getting double digit interceptions this year. I see him going out there getting 30 to 35 touchdowns, 4,500 yards again, if not 4,800, 4,700. I think he's going to take a big jump this year, and it's crazy to say at this point in someone's career, and I know the defense is better, so maybe it takes him off the field, or maybe it helps him get back on the field, and you have the run game. But again, I use that argument. They had the run game last year. They had 2 guys rush for 1,000 yards essentially. They did. So I'm all in on the Jared Goff stuff, and I think he will lead the Lions to a Super Bowl at some point in his career, and I think this year he's taking a massive step. What do you boys think?
I mean, I think we could see a big jump in Jared Goff as far as his control on this offense. You can be like, wow, Jared Goff is playing with a lot more confidence. I think going through his reads, another year in Ben Johnson's system, he's going to have a better grasp of it. So I think when you look at having a command on the offense, I think that's where you see Jared improve. And I think that does absolutely translate to wins, because now your offense is just absolutely humming. The quarterback, it all starts with that. So I think that's where Jared improves. I don't see much improvement production-wise in the statistical category, because the team is going to get better and he's not going to have to air it out. The optimistic approach that I do have to it is, do I think Jameson Williams can be better than Josh Reynolds? Yes. Do I think that Sam Laporta can improve in yardage? Yes. So can that give Jared Goff more yards? Absolutely. But I just don't think that's going to be the case when you look at how good this team is. I don't think you're going to have to try to think of the right word. Rely on JMO to be a huge part of a wide receiver 2 offense when you have an already loaded offense. JMO is going to be the wide receiver 2, but I don't think you're going to have to lean on him game in and game out because there's so many other options. That goes with any player outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta in this offense. So Jared Goff, I think, going to be more confident, going to be able to slice defenses up better, but I don't think as much in production.
Gentry, what do you think?
Oh, no, I just had another question for Lucas as far as Jahmyr Gibbs earlier. Did you see anything out of him in the pass game, him catching passes? Obviously, we kind of expect his game to kind of take that to the next step. He was great last year towards the end of the year. But did you see any connection out of him and Goff today that would make you feel even more confident in his game catching the ball?
Not really today, to be honest, but what I did see yesterday in the install period is they did a lot of RPOs with David Montgomery behind Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs behind Amon-Ra St. Brown split out wide. And I think that's definitely formation that Ben Johnson is going to try to utilize, especially in the red zone. So I think what I will say is there's definitely going to be more opportunities for David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to be on the field, just because Jahmyr Gibbs as a receiver is naturally going to improve the longer he's in the league, and that's going to give him more opportunity at receiver. And if they're running David Montgomery out there as well, I think that gives him huge opportunity because you don't know who's getting the ball. Like Jahmyr Gibbs could still run the ball when he's lined up wide. So there's just the defense is going to be so on edge that Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he needed to do a little bit improvement with his hands last year, but I just think that will come. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, yes, I didn't see anything today, but he's going to improve in every facet of his game, and that improves in the receiving game as well.
All right, Boone, I have one last question for you, and then just a basic question for both of you. Boone, what's the update on Jake Bates? How did he look? You know, we as a podcast recruited him. We did our part, but is he doing his part out there?
He didn't nothing stood out today. I know he missed a kick in situational drills, but there was nothing really, no Jake Bates news. He just did some kicks where it looked like he was hitting most of them on the practice field by himself. And then they did do a situational, and I know there was kind of a rush situation to where they tried to get out to the ball quick, and I believe he missed it. We couldn't really see the angle that the fans sit at. It's hard to see, and especially on the farther field. When they're kicking, if it's a good kick or not, you can't see left or right. All you see is the ball go. So the doc had texted me. I could kind of see. I think he texted and said that the kick was no good, or something like that. So I think he might have missed one today, but there was nothing big. I mean, just the biggest thing with Jake Bates is the Lions haven't brought in another kicker.
Yeah,
Riley Patterson was available, and
didn't James Turner get cut?
James Turner got cut. Riley Patterson got cut, and the news was that Riley, the Lions didn't even put in for a waiver for Riley Patterson. So that makes you think that they might not be looking for another guy, and they might just be rolling with Jake Bates. That was an interesting little nugget.
That's the only option they have right now. There is no other kicker out there. It was simply Jake Bates out there, so he's the only option they have right now. But that shows they do have a lot of confidence in. What did Dan say earlier this week? I'm sure you remember, Boone, but they're not worried about his confidence in big moments or something like that. They just think he's mentally ready to go. Which I don't know about, but
even Dave Phipp came out and said and was like, and Klotz, this is towards you a little bit because was it you or someone on our show said that the moments in the big games.
Yeah, I'm still even if they say this, I'm still gonna be worried about
the thing. And Dave Phipp's one of the best in the league, and he was just like, hey, that's not really it is a thing, but it's not. He was like, if you can kick the ball and you're in the NFL, a guy like Jake Bates, yeah, you might miss a kick in a moment, but it has nothing to do with your nerves or anything. And he was like, those kicks, he was like, I don't think it has to do with nerves. It's just more so getting consistent. And he kind of debunked you, Klotzy. We have to get that clip for next week. Yeah, he debunked you a little bit.
I don't know. That is truly I know I say it with Levi, but I think it implies more Jake Bates. I have to see it. Because Levi, at least was a dominant player in college, Jake Bates' kicking career is a big goose egg right now in the NFL. And I think in the UFL showed a lot of strengths, but he did show some weaknesses. And I'm just worried about those weaknesses showing up week 1 against Matthew Stafford on prime time. I can just envision it already. It's going to be a 24-24 game, and Jake Bates is going to go out there to kick the game winner.
Yeah, and he's going to hit it.
I hope so, but I'm going to be
without a doubt.
I think a lot of people see how confident you are, Boone. You're very confident in it. I can promise you in that moment that will not be me. I will be shitting a brick.
Well, yeah, in the moment, even for me, I will be.
At that point in time, but he's just confident. That's Booner.
I trust him.
This is a two-parter. At first, who was your biggest surprise from the 2 days you guys were there? Player-wise, biggest surprise.
For me, I think,
I have one.
There was already some hype around Rakestraw, but actually seeing him, like Rakestraw without a doubt, because even when you're looking at him, like I even said it to Boone when they were doing the walkthroughs, I was like, I think Rakestraw looks a little small. Like, it kind of looks a little small out there. And he puts the pads on. You're like, oh, no, he's not that small. And then he starts laying people out. And then in one-on-ones and coverage-wise, he's holding his own. Another guy that definitely surprised me because he was getting a lot of the ones. Like, I don't remember if it was Terrion or Carlton Davis, but Maurice Alexander, boys, he deserves a spot on this roster. I'm sorry. We've seen him in preseason show out numerous times for this Lions team. Maurice Alexander is constantly making plays. And I understand he's not what you want exactly at a wide receiver spot. But when you go talking about like guys like Khalif, how they're just an athlete and you can line him up wherever and just he can make a play if you ask him to. That's Maurice Alexander, and he's been making plays previous offseason with this Lions team, and today he continued to do it as well. Like the new kickoff rules, that's what Maurice Alexander would shine in.
Yeah, and
what say you?
I'm gonna go wide receiver. I'm gonna go Marie Fontaine.
So you did it again. Darius Fountain.
Darius Fountain. I'm gonna go. The name.
We gotta clean that up, boys. We gotta clean that up.
Trips me out. But shout out Darius Fountain, fan of the program. I'm gonna go Darius Fountain though. I do think it's just like he didn't have. I don't think he had a touchdown when we were there today. It's just more so. I like when you get there. I think Lions fans, when you go, you have an idea of what the battles are and what's happening at practice. Like we cover the team, we cover the Detroit sports, so we are very locked in and dialed in on what's going on. So when you go there, one of the first things you think of is what's going on with these. And you guys know my narrative with DPJ. What's going on with DPJ? What's going on with Darius Fountain? What's going on with these guys? And right away, you notice like Darius Fountain's with the ones constantly. The first guy, he's doing every single rep, whether it's individual drills or whether it's 11 on 11. He's doing every rep with Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he is in those drills. And it's not like he's just running the routes and not no. He is making plays. He's making catches. He's getting first downs. He got a couple first downs that we saw. Like he is out there making plays, and that was just surprising to me. Like I didn't think when you hear his name, you're like, all right, I have to. It's kind of like the Levi O thing. Like I want to see it to believe it. You went out there and saw it. He can play, and then I think a lot of people like go out there and watch this guy play, and I think he's going to win that spot. So I would have to say Darius Fountain. Offense or defensively, I think Levi O is the obvious answer.
Okay, and just your biggest takeaway. It doesn't have to be a player. It could be the defense, the offense. Dan Campbell doing up downs. Biggest takeaway.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Boone can go.
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go just strictly the defense. Like the question I asked Klotz earlier, the top 10 defense. I'm gonna go the defense. I think the defense is gonna be really good. Like I think people. I saw people in the chat when I asked Klotz a question about the top 10 defense, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, we're gonna need to see it." Go to training camp and watch for a day. See what AG is doing out there with the secondary. You have such a deep secondary right now. The linebacking core is one of the best in the entire NFL. It will be by the end of the season. People are going to look at Chad Campbell, Alex Anzalone, and Derek Barnes as one of the best linebacking cores in the entire NFL. And then the defensive line is starting to come together, and you can see it. Like the 11 on 11, you got to think. If they're winning those reps, you're not sitting there going, well, what's going on with the O-line? That's the best offensive line in the entire NFL for the last 2 seasons. And they got better. And this defensive line's out there every single play, put pressure on Jared Goff. Jared Goff is having to scramble. He's having to go around. Like he's having to make plays on the run and throw the ball. Like he's having to do that because this defensive line's put pressure on. And you have James Houston back now. You have Derek Barnes in the same spot. I think this defense, like that was the biggest takeaway to me. I legit think this defense, like I'll lock it in. It's an automatic top 10 defense. I think this defense has a chance to become a top 5 defense in the NFL at some point. And people might think, oh, Booner, you're crazy. I've been told I'm crazy before.
You are crazy.
Everyone tells me I'm crazy. But guess what? I don't lie to the people, and I tell them what I see. And what I saw this week with the defense and the defensive line, the secondary, this is one of the deepest defenses in the NFL right now that I'm looking at. And I think with AG at the helm of it, this is good. This is going to be something else, fellas. Like, hang on. You have the best offense in the NFL, and you're going to have one of the best defenses. Hang on for dear life. This is a legit Super Bowl roster, boys.
All right, Lucas, talk to me.
I think it's neither offense or defense, but just this team overall is one of the most versatile teams in the NFL. Like, you look at the running back position, you look at the offensive line, wide receiver, tight end. Every positional group has a player on that where you can go, oh, I could use him here. Oh, I could use him here. Like, I think when you look around the NFL, especially where it's going, that is so important. And I think offensively and defensively, this team's just so flexible with where they can move people, because you saw it. Like, the formations, they were just moving everybody around and plugging and placing them however they pleased, and they were still having success with it. So seeing that shows that just how smart this football team is. And I think they're going to be able to match up with anybody in the NFL, both offensively and defensively, like I just said, because they're able to do that. So this team's ready to win, and they're ready to win now. There's no doubt about it.
I just want to address this too, and shout out JT Olsen. He always tunes in. Great Tampa Bay fan, if anyone needed to know. Listen, I don't think this is an overhyped thing at all. And that just means, like, I know I'm saying top 5. That's going out on a limb. I know that. But top 10, this is a top 10 defense. Like, the secondary, if you go out there and watch them, the secondary is playing at an extremely high level, and they have position battles going on. And they have guys that potentially could win that spot on a top 10 defense. And then you have guys that can rotate in if someone gets hurt, if someone goes down, and they're still going to play at that high of a level. And the only question mark on this defense is the edge rusher. And you have guys in there. Like, if Davenport's healthy, he's going to be able to step in and be really good. And you have Derek Barnes at the Sam, who's going to be able to go at the quarterback. James Houston's back. Like, guy, I don't think people realize, like, it's not an over exaggeration. It's, you can go down there and watch 11 on 11, and this defense is winning multiple days at training camp versus one of the best offenses in the NFL and one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. And they keep getting better. And like Ben Johnson said in the press conference today, he was like, we were beating the defense at first a couple days, and we were getting them deep, and we knew exactly what we needed to do to beat them. And he said within a day, they figured it out, and they stopped, and they brought the energy, and we couldn't do it anymore. Like, they're scheming things up, they're adjusting, they're doing, like, it's different than what you've seen in the past. I think it's pretty obvious, to be honest. Like, it's a significant change. Like, having guys like Khalil Dorsey starting last year to now having Carlton Davis and Teron Arnold, and then in the slot, obviously Brian Branch, but moving Brian Branch back and having other absolute dogs fill in there, like, you're getting your best players on the field. I don't. Am I far off? Like, I'm not far off on that.
This is the team that lost in the NFC Championship game, and after watching them in training camp, you can tell they're picking up right where they left off. So when you think about that, and to Booner's point, like, the run defense was not an issue. When you look at the personnel in the front seven, I think outside of that questionable spot where it could be Marcus Davenport, Levi O, the other 6 positions you are really confident in. And then you look in the secondary, and I think you have to be confident in that secondary after what Brad Holmes did with it this offseason. If you're going to question the offense, I'm really going to ask, what are you thinking? But I would be the first one to be like, you know what? No, I don't think this team's there just yet. When you look at the roster, you look at how they're playing, you look at the coaching, you look at the coordinators, and you look at Sheila Ford Hamp just walking around training camp, this team's ready to go right now. Everybody's bought in.
Real quick, I'll answer this question here. I'm losing it. Where is it? Steve Lehman said Lucas and Booner. Any word on James Houston? He was out there today, and in Klotz, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I think he was flying around. He didn't have like a sack or anything, but he looked healthy. Honestly, he looked really healthy out there. No one's really saying anything about him, but he looks good.
Yeah, they're repping him a lot at the Sam spot, and as far as like Booner said, like, he's completely healthy. I don't think there's any injury concern with James Houston heading into the season, and I think he's a guy that's going to be playing confident as well with Terrell Williams out there. So James Houston full go. I don't necessarily think we're going to get the 10.5 sack James Houston that some people were expecting last year, but I think he's a guy that's going to definitely contribute. I mean, James Houston, there's no reason to really be doubting him injury-wise right now.
I think it's a good thing. That's part of your depth at the edge.
Yeah.
Another just minor one. Was there anyone else that really caught your eye on the defensive line? I know we've kind of talked about James Houston, Davenport, and Levi, but like, was there anyone else behind the scenes that you're like,
Not
Broderick? I would say Broderick. I would just say Broderick. Like, he was repping with the ones. He's in the spot for DJ Reader right now, which I think is like, that alone just shows that they trust him. He obviously, like, he's so big. Broderick Martin is the biggest
he sticks out.
human I've ever seen in my life, and I
I
think
don't
like
know, DJ Reader. Do you
I
remember?
guess DJ was on the
DJ
side.
Reader
He's a big fella.
honestly probably the most massive human being I've ever seen in my life. We were watching training camp, and he was off on the side, on like kind of like the side strip field that they have right there where the linemen will warm up. And DJ Reader is out there with no pads. And I'm like, who the hell's out there warming up with pads on and not in there? And I'm like, oh God, no, that's like DJ Reader, no pads. Like that man is just absolutely torqued. He doesn't even need to be out there training. Like day one, just throw him out there week one. He's ready to go. But the one thing I do want to say though, because I kind of want to have this conversation, and this is a guy that I'm not saying disappointed, but I think definitely underwhelmed while we were there, and that's Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell, I think, was a guy that we all kind of expected to blow things up. I'm not saying that he can't do that. But no. But I'm trying to like
narrative. This is a clear narrative move.
Boone. But this is what. Let me just be. I'm being completely transparent. I'm going to say facts here. I'm not going to get opinions.
All right.
No opinions. Jack Campbell in Indies today, when they're going up against the running backs, was not making any plays. I won't say what happened because
I don't think in Indies is.
And when they're doing 11 on 11s, I think we're all expecting Jack Campbell to make an impact on the passing game, get some pressure on the quarterback. He wasn't doing bad, but Jack Campbell was not sticking out. So my question to you, Booner, is do you think that he's going to be taking that step right now? Or do you still think there's some learning adjustment that he's going to have to take?
I mean, I think through training camp, he's still learning. Like he's constantly growing. Everyone is. Look at Anzalone, his career. Like he was constantly growing. I think Jack Campbell has a higher ceiling, so his is going to come quicker. I don't think like the indie drills, like the 1v1s, like I'm not taking that into big account. Like Ennis Rakestraw got trucked by Jamison Williams. I'm not going to say, well, Ennis Rakestraw, that was bad from him. But like just the fact that he ended up recovering and coming back the next time up and tackling, that was big. But like if he did it, I wasn't going to use that against Ennis Rakestraw. It's 1v1. Like guys get juked out. I saw guys who probably won't make the roster juke out starters or truck starters in that drill. So like I'm not really taking too much account of that. And the same thing, like I don't know, Klotz, like that I wouldn't say disappointed or underwhelmed at all with Jack Campbell. Like I don't think like he didn't go out there and you didn't see him get an interception or a sack or a pass breakup, but like I didn't see like Alex Anzalone. He didn't stand out today. The linebackers are just these linebackers are just so solid. Like they do their jobs, they do their assignments, and they move on. Like I get it, but there was nothing where you're like, oh, Jack Campbell just gave up a route. He just gave up a pass. Oh, Jack Campbell just gave up he blew his assignment and missed a tackle in 11-on-11. Like there was nothing like that at all. I think that's like I don't know. I see what you're saying. Like there was nothing that stood out, but I don't think that the linebackers at all, none of the linebackers, you were like, hey, they made plays today. Like that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, like I'm not saying that Jack Campbell's like not going to produce this year like we all expect him to. All I'm saying is I think when we went going into training camp, I think we were expecting to hear a lot of Jack Campbell noise, and I don't think there's been much to what we thought. So that's the only thing I was kind of trying to get. I'm not trying to – there's a narrative in the chat right now saying that I thought Jack Campbell was going to be busting all that. No, nothing to do with that. It's just I think we all had high expectations for Jack Campbell heading into camp, and there hasn't been that much noise. So I was just curious on what the boys thought about it.
I do actually have one more question before we get to that segment, Boone. I'm sorry. I've been kind of delaying it, and then you just delayed it. What was the update on Iffy? Did you guys see anything out of him?
Yeah, he was out there today. He was running with the ones originally.
Was he? How did he look?
He just looked iffy. It wasn't like he was with the twos at the warming up, and then he was with the ones. No, he was with the ones. No, yeah, he was with the ones through walkthrough, and then he was with the twos in 11-on-11. He didn't really like. It was just iffy, I guess. I don't know. But iffy Malfon was massive human. Yeah, he's a big.
He does look like not being sarcastic. He looks like Cam Chancellor out there. Like both of them are 6'4", 6'5", like, and he's just swole. And when you look at him at safety, you're like, that dude should not be playing safety. He looks like a linebacker out there.
All right, boys, let's do this. Detroit Lions players stocks. Chat kind of go along. We're gonna do this until about 9:30 probably. I have a lot of different players. I left some players out for a reason, and I picked certain players for a reason as well. I'm interested to know where people are at. We'll do it a little quicker. Like we're not going to do like a couple minute rants on each one unless you really need to, but we'll go through these. I have 19 of them. So,
all right.
Yeah, I want to get kind of thoughts on people. So let's do the first one. The player is Lukas Klotz out of Tiffin. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be funny though.
Buying that stock. As low as it's ever going to be.
First one here. Jared Goff. I want to know where you guys are at with Jared Goff. Quarterback of the team, leader of the team. Where are you guys at? Chat, put in there, buy or sell as well.
Buy.
I would buy stock on Jared. Obviously, I think getting another year with Laporta, getting another year with St. Brown, you still have your two great running backs. You're behind the best offensive line in the league. Another year under Ben Johnson, and I think you kind of seen where he can take this offense. And I think obviously with those guys all getting a year under their belt, he could take it to the next level. So I'm buying Jared Goff.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Gentry. I'm buying as well. Everything that earlier I talked about with Goff, I'm all in on it. I think he does take a step where people are going to be shocked. They're going to be like, "Oh, Jared Goff, 4,800 yards. This is crazy. How is this guy doing that?" Next one here, David Montgomery.
Go on, Lucas. You don't even need to hear what I'm going to say.
I may or may not be setting some of the boys up. That's all.
It's a sell. It's a sell that I don't want to do, but I think David Montgomery's still going to have a very good season for the Lions, but it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs leading the show, and David Montgomery's still going to be there. They're still going to feed D-Mont, but I don't think he gets over 1,000 yards this year. I think Jahmyr Gibbs definitely takes that out of the picture for him.
I still think he gets 1,000 yards, obviously, and I still think he's either first or second in touchdowns. I still think he was a force in the red zone. You had the best offensive line in the league. Like I've said with Gibbs and Monty, I would rather have them together than split them up. Obviously, I think they make each other better. So I'm buying a Monty. That's my guy. Everyone knows that. He's still going to go off this year. He's still getting 10 to 12 touchdowns. He's going up.
What I'm going to do, Burning Issue says, come on, man, do better, Booner. I think you think Klotz is Booner. I'm Booner. That's Klotz. Klotz is the one that sold, not me.
I'm selling high.
Booner.
I'm selling high. The stock's very high right now. I still think it's going to be a great stock, but I think I'm just going to make a little money off of that.
What I'm doing is I'm holding on to all of my stock. I'm not buying or selling. I'm just
because that's what I would have done with Goff. That's what I would have done.
I have my list here, and I have some guys that I'm holding on that I'm sitting there. I'm saying
they're buy or sell. There's no holding.
We've done this segment before, if you remember, and if you're locked in, you would know. We've done this segment 100 times. No. We've done this segment 100 times, and I've ran this segment before, and we always have buy sell.
All right, so
hold is it, and I think D-Mont, to Gentry's point, I think D-Mont has a chance to get another 1,000 yards, if not maybe like 900, and it's going to still put up touchdowns. And then I think it's like he's going to have a similar year to last year, and Gibbs will take that step, and then that running back room goes way up. And I'm holding on D-Mont, so I'm going to hold on him.
I'll stand by my decision, but if I knew that we were doing hold, I would have probably held.
All right, we gotta get through these. All right, Khalif Raymond.
I'm gonna buy more opportunity.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna buy too. I was about to say hold, but I think obviously he gets a bigger role this year, kind of being the wide receiver 3. And if he stays healthy, we've seen how reliable Khalif Raymond was. It seems like anytime he was in there and he was making a catch, it was a big catch. And you know how he is, yards after catch. He can kind of do it all. And who knows? Maybe with the new special teams rule, they may dabble him out there too. So I'm buying on Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, I have buy as well. I like Klotz, the opportunity. He's gonna have opportunity. He's gonna be a big part of this offense. Next one here. I'm gonna go first on this one, just so I can get mine out there. Jamison Williams.
Yeah.
I think actually, maybe I could speak for the whole group here. We're all buying.
Yeah.
We're taking all the money we have and we're investing everything. We're selling the houses, we're putting the mortgages, we're doing everything on
generational wealth. We're building Booner.
Yeah, and it's all on. And you know what? Too. Let's just do the next guy as well. Aiden Hutchinson. Are we all doing the same thing? Are we all buying on Aiden Hutchinson?
Mm-hmm.
Chat, buying on Aiden Hutchinson. All right, I like that. This next one here. This is going to be a big controversial one. We've talked about him on the show already a lot. Levi, buy or sell?
I mean, the stock's dirt cheap right now, so you gotta buy it. It really, literally can only go up, and I think it will go up. So give me the buy.
Yeah, I will buy it because it's so low. But if the stock continues to rise, if it was, risen a little bit, I would just hold. But I think it's so low, like Lucas said, and he's going to have the opportunity to start the year. And if I trust the coaching staff and all the words that were, hyped up about him. Obviously, I didn't get to see it in person like you guys, but I will buy on Levi for now.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm buying all of it. I'm buying everything with Levi. I think, like you said, Klotz, he's been in the gutter, dirt cheap. Yeah, like that stock is the lowest it can get. and a lot of people probably are still
Penny
selling
stock.
it. I feel like sometimes you want to sell it. I get that feeling.
Yeah,
So
you're
I'm
not wrong. You're not wrong.
so I'm buying it.
I'm getting closer to the more optimistic side. Don't you worry.
While people want to sell it, I'm going to just start buying it. This next one, this is another defensive lineman. This is an interesting one. Josh Paschal. Buy or
I'm
sell?
gonna hold. This will be my hold because I think he's not showing much in camp, but I do think he's shown spurts throughout the regular season over the course of his career. And I do think Terrell Williams is going to impact him, and he's going to be on that rotation. And I think he's going to be a guy that wants to prove himself, being a second-round pick, just like Levi. So I'm going to hold on Paschal because I do still have some optimism because he was making plays in that NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I think you kind of seen some bright spots out of him to end the year. The thing is, there is a lot of people on that defensive line that are working in the spots in front of him. So no matter if he slots in at defensive tackle or if he gives them some help at edge, I think I'm just going to hold for now. I think my decision may waver on that a couple weeks in. But as of now, I'm going to hold on Paschal. We've seen some bright spots out of him to end the year.
This is going to be a controversial one because I think Paschal, to your guys' point, he was at a high ground towards the end of the year, and last season he had a couple big plays, and I think his stock's pretty high right now. Like obviously you guys are holding. I'm going to sell it while it's hot, make my money, and I'm going to get out now. I don't know what's going on with Josh Paschal. He's getting reps with the rotated in, and he's getting reps. Okay, so you're gonna boo me for selling on a Josh Paschal, but you're gonna come at me as well for saying Levi's doing good. So you're up, Josh. You like Josh Paschal?
Did I not? Did I not myself buy some
every
Levi
conversation we have about this defensive line, Levi? Oh, I don't know. I have to see it. But Josh Paschal, you're like, oh, even though Paschal has done nothing all training camp and no one's hearing from him or about him, you're like, I'm a Paschal guy now.
So this is a genuine question, Booner. You have more confidence in the guy who hasn't shown anything but in training camp versus the guy who has shown you something in the regular season, literally just last year in the last game that you played.
Yes, I like what Levi's
That's
doing.
where we differ. I'm a Levi
guy.
I like what Levi's doing as well, but that doesn't just make me now not confident in Josh Paschal. Like leaving the season last year, I was like, all right, Josh Paschal, he showed me some bright spots. It's not like okay, I gotta wait and see it with Josh Paschal. Like, no, you've seen it. Now you're waiting to see if he's going to improve from that. With Levi, you still have to actually see it. That's where the difference is with Levi and Josh Paschal.
I mean, Josh Paschal, we're talking about, oh, he showed it. He had 1 sack last year. Like, wow.
Last year in the NFC Championship game, end around Deebo Samuel, he split a guard in the center and he tackled Deebo behind the line on a second down that turned into a 3-and-out for the Niners and then punted.
Awesome.
Jeff,
Made a play. Did his job. Hasn't done anything.
You've seen that multiple times on a Paschal.
Have not heard about him in training camp, and there's been nothing. So yeah, I'm just saying his stock is very high because of the NFC Championship game. I will sell him.
This stock is not very high.
You booed me for selling.
That's fine.
All right, we're going to move on. Next one. We got a lot to get to.
Marcus Davenport.
I'm
trying to think of where would you equate his stock at? Because
I still think it's low to mid-level stock. I think I'm just gonna hold for Davenport. Obviously, I'm not too high on him, and I kind of preach that. But I mean, he has a big opportunity in front of him. You would think he's going to be starting, and then James Houston is rotating behind him. So I think maybe with the old coaching staff, that may help him out. The biggest thing with Davenport is just staying healthy. So I'll hold on as of now.
I'm pondering. There's a great ponder going on. I think I'm gonna hold as well. I'm gonna be on the optimistic side of things here, but I'm very quick to sell with this stock. I think just because I don't think there should be much of a question on who's starting at that defensive end spot. You think it should just be Marcus Davenport. And I think that there is a question going around has something to do with that. So Marcus Davenport, I'm holding. Definitely not buying.
What say you, Boone?
I'm buying. I'm buying the Davenport stock. I think Davenport. I think a lot of people are low on him because of the injuries and him not being able to be out there and produce. I think hopefully this year he comes in, and I think just getting in a better position with the Detroit Lions. We've seen a lot of guys we've seen guys come in and kind of their career with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and hopefully now AG kind of blossom a little bit. So I'm gonna buy. I think he's really low right now. People are looking at him low. All right, next one, boys. Jack Campbell. Controversial one. Klotz?
I don't think that's really controversial.
Yeah.
I'm buying too. I still think he's going to take that next step and kind of not edge past Anzalone, but I think, they'll be going head to head for that position. So I'm buying on Jack Campbell. I'm not overreacting to anything too early out of training camp. I think the demeanor which he ended the NFC Championship game, and he's been kind of holding on to that, like he said, I think he's going to be ready to go, and we're going to see a different side of Jack. It may take a couple weeks for him to kind of settle in again, but I think like once mid-season, towards the end of the season, even playoffs, I think Jack's going to be a dog.
Klotzy?
I'm going to go. I'm absolutely going to buy. I like what Gentry said, throwing in the fact that he might not be nudging Anzalone get past him, but he'll be right there with him. I still think Anzalone is going to be the better linebacker, but Jack Campbell, just like Alex Anzalone, is going to take a step. I think Jack Campbell takes a bigger step than Alex Anzalone, for a matter of fact.
Really?
He's going to take a bigger step. That doesn't make him better. He's got farther to go.
Right. I'm buying Jack Campbell. I think people already know that. I'm buying the Jack Campbell stock. I'm all in on what he's building. I think his ceiling is incredible. One of the best on the team. It's up there.
JT Olsen's cracking me up in the chat.
He's sold on every player that
he's trolling so hard.
Every single player that anyone's bought and is buying, he's selling. This one, Amik Robertson. I thought this is a kind of an interesting one. I'm interested to see where you guys are at with Amik. I already know where I'm at. I wrote it down here, but I'm interested to see what you guys think.
I'm going to hold on to Meek. I still think there's a lot of battling to go on for that slot position, but I think like with the demeanor he has, the attitude he brings in every practice, I think he's going to continuously keep battling for that spot. He might not be the starter off rip, but I think by the end of the year and in crunch time situations, you'll begin to see Amik Robertson. So I'm going to hold on him for now, but I could easily make a case for why you would want to buy for him, just because maybe his stock is lower now than it would be in the future.
Yeah, shout out to crunch time situations for sure. But Amik, I'm buying, because I think in Detroit, there's some narrative around them. But as far as throughout the NFL, not many people know who Amik Robertson is outside of Raiders fans and people in the AFC West. I don't think anybody really knows about Amik Robertson. This team's going to be on primetime games, and he's going to be making plays situationally for this team and be making some starts for this team. And when you look at, this is probably going to be a top 10 defense, he's a part of that. I could see Amik having 2 to 4 interceptions this year and making some plays in the run and the pass. So I'm definitely buying his stock. Right now, I know it's improved from the beginning of his career, but he's definitely going to take another step with this defense because he's hungry and he's a perfect fit for this team.
Yeah, I think the Amik thing, I'm not buying, but I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna hold. I just think like we know what Amik is, and I think like him being in Detroit is an opportunity for him. But we saw what he. I mean,
I'm just trolling you, Boone. I'm just trolling.
The trolling for the chat. Come on now. I don't. Yeah. I'm gonna hold. Next one. Iffy Melifonwu.
I think that might be the toughest one yet.
It's not that. I'm sorry.
I think I'm just gonna sell on Iffy. I still think I'm pretty comfortable with Kirby and Brian Branch back there. Obviously, if he showed some flashes when he could, get to the quarterback and all the big plays he did make. But I really want to see more of Brian Branch this year, and we've talked about that a lot. And what Kirby Joseph kind of can do if you let Brian Branch play, I think Kirby can kind of roam around and be more of that ball hawk. So I'm going to sell on Iffy right now.
All right,
I'm not happy about that because I do like Iffy a lot. So I mean, that just sucks. But you can't buy everyone.
No, you can't. And Booner said it multiple times. If Iffy Melifonwu would be playing at the level that he did through the last 7 games last year, he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year. So the stock that he has right now is, I think, sky high. And I think it's still going to be stock that's very good. But if you're trying to make some money, you got to sell it because he's not going to be on that type of tear this year. I think he's still going to be a great player for the secondary. But Brian Branch is not going to be leaving the field. And I think people are overreacting at how much Kirby Joseph is going to be taken off the field. Like, I don't think Kirby, Iffy's going to get in there. But I think when Iffy goes in, he's going to be taking Brian Branch out of there. They're going to be moving around a situation so they have Kirby, Iffy, and Brian Branch out there. Like, Kirby's going to be playing a lot more than I think people expect him to. So just because of that, you got to sell the stock.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a weird one. because he's going to get another opportunity at some point this season. I don't know like what's going to happen, but if he's going to have an opportunity to play again, and it's not going to be like he's never going to get snaps. Like every single game, he will play in every game, and he will get snaps in every game. I don't know who they're going to rotate with him. If they're going to give Brian Branch a rest, or he's going to go in for Kirby. I don't know how it's going to work out. I think if he is now, I think it's fair to say you could stay put. Like that's where I'm at. Like I'm holding a little bit. I know the sell because he came off such a good high in the last like 8 games. But I think like when he does get on the field, Klotz, like what you were saying, like I think when he does get on the field, he's gonna he's gonna go out there and produce. There's no question about it. He has all the talent, the skills, he has everything to do it. So that's where for me, it's like buying is tough because he's not going to get as many snaps probably as he did last year to end the year. But when he is in there, he's going to produce and he's going to give you something. And I think he's going to give you what you saw to end last year. So I'm going to hold and I'm going to say I'm going to keep my stock because he's going to continue doing what he does when he does get the opportunities.
Can't hate it. Can't hate it.
Another one here. I'm going to actually these are going to be 2 interesting back-to-back ones. Antoine Green.
I'm selling just for the fact that Daurice Fountain. I think Doc even spoke with us. Like Antoine Green's out there, but kind of like Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's really not doing much when he has been out there. And I like, as far as they're both very similar, but 7th round pick, guy who's done it before in the NFL. I'm gonna take the guy who's done it before in the NFL. When you have a guy like Daurice Fountain producing the way he is, so Antoine Green, his stock's not that high, but I don't think it's gonna get much higher. So if there's any value to it right now with the camp hype entering, I'll buy and take what I can get out of there. So I'm going to sell this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sell too. There's just a lot going on in the wide receiver room, and I think Antoine Green still has a lot of potential. But when you have guys like DPJ and you still have Fountain stepping up, and then obviously you have Khalif coming back, it's just going to be hard for him to make the roster. I do like Antoine Green, but as of now, I would sell on him.
I'm going to do the same. I think it's sell across the board. It looks like a lot of people in the chat. So it's weird. Like going into OTAs and stuff, people thought like they mentioned that he took a big step forward and people thought he was going to end up taking a spot in there. And I actually was one of the guys, I'll admit it, that I thought Antoine was going to be one of like a dude to step in, like keep an eye on him. And he just hasn't been. And they said he's still playing at the level of him taking a step and going forward, but he just hasn't done it as consistent, and he needs to be more consistent. So I think like I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna sell a little bit. Next one I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
Okay.
I think I know who's coming.
I'll answer first with this one because it might shock you guys. DPJ.
All right.
Are you answering or you want us to go?
I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna buy DPJ stock.
Wow.
What?
I've been saying it the last day or two. DPJ, when we've watched him at training camp, he hasn't like dropped any passes. The thing is with DPJ is like, I think during camp, he just hasn't stood out over guys like Daurice Fountain. But DPJ, if you guys went to camp like today, yesterday, he's running with the 2s a little bit, but he is in there getting some reps with some 1s. When he's in the 2s, like he caught a touchdown pass today. He's catching passes. He's not dropping passes. He's making plays. I think it's more so like he needs to be really consistent. I think there's going to be a point to where you're going to look at your 5 wide receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Daurice Fountain, and it's going to be DPJ is going to be 5th. Whether you like it or not, DPJ will be in that wide receiver room come week 1. So that's the reason right now everyone was saying he's going to get cut. Everyone's saying he's at his lowest. I was one of the ones saying it as well. As you kind of go a little bit, I think Antoine Green's the one that's more so the practice squad, maybe potentially cut if they don't keep 6. And if they just have, say you have 5 wide receivers, which they could have 6. If you have 5, I think DPJ makes the roster. So I'm going to buy it a little bit. He's at his lowest right now. And if the stock goes up a little bit because he's wide receiver 5, I'll take the money.
I think I'm just going to hold on him. I think he was brought here for a reason. I don't think they're just going to get rid of him. I think he's a reliable option. I think they trust him. I still think, obviously, Fountain may have taken a spot as wide receiver 4, but I still think he makes the roster, and God forbid any injuries happen. I think he's a reliable option that they trust, can slot in there at many different spots, and he's he can play special teams as well. So I still think DPJ is making the team. I don't think he's getting cut. And I think maybe there'll be a higher upside towards the end of the season, obviously mid-season, just in case someone goes down. But I'm just holding on him for now. I don't think he's getting cut.
Yeah, Boone. I'm surprised to definitely hear that you're buying, but I'm going to hold. Same reason for Gentry, so I really don't want to explain much more of it. But I think entering this training camp, he thought of DPJ as a wide receiver 4 or 5, and I think he's in the same situation.
That's it. Hey, so you guys are holding, both of you guys.
Yeah.
Wow. Yep. Okay. And real quick, I want to do a last one here. I think this real quick. We all can agree. Hendon Hooker, sell.
Yeah. What do you?
No. I'm still holding on Hendon Hooker, dude. I mean, first full training camp, he's still struggling. It's very early.
Tight,
obviously he's still older as a quarterback, and we expect him more. But he did miss a lot of time, so I'm gonna give him time to get up to speed. I'm not, just closing the door on Hendon Hooker yet. You still get a hold on him. He's still got a hell of a lot of talent. Obviously, he still needs to get adjusted to the way they do things at the NFL level. But like I said, it's still very, very early for him.
Hold on tight, Gentry.
I'm going to sell. I am going to sell just because I think, Gentry, man.
To be fair, I wasn't at training camp, so I didn't see how bad some of the throws were. But I'm trying not to overreact to it because I know he still has a lot of talent, and a lot of the things that he does well translates to how the NFL is being played now. So it's just too early. I know he's a little bit older too, like I said, but he hasn't had much time.
It's not that I'm trying to dog Hendon Hooker. He had a brutal day at camp today, okay? And it's not even for a brutal day at camp for a third round pick. It was a brutal day at camp for an undrafted free agent. Adrian Martinez probably had better camp days and worse camp days than that. But he just, when you would compare him, there wouldn't be much difference. And I think when you look at that and you look at Jared Goff now re-signing for the deal that he just did, I don't see the path in Hendon Hooker ever starting for this team. I don't think they have the confidence in him right now to do so. I think even in the draft coming up, I wouldn't be surprised if they were to draft another quarterback because right now there's not a lockdown at quarterback 2, and you're always trying to make the quarterback room the best that you can because it's the most important position in all of sports. So Hendon Hooker, I really don't see him ever stepping on the field for the Detroit Lions.
He's gonna have to take a big jump. He's gonna have it's a lot of work.
A couple of big jumps.
Yeah, it's just tough because he hasn't played football in so long, and you're sitting there and he's not making throws that he probably made when he was at Tennessee, and his confidence is probably in a different spot. I don't know, maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. Let's do this real quick, boys. I'm gonna hit this one more time here. I want to BetUS, fellas. Let's talk. I want to talk about BetUS again real quick, one last time here on the show. Appreciate BetUS for sponsoring us and proudly sponsoring our show. It is the fastest payouts, guys. If you guys are looking for a spot to bet for the football season, NFL, college football, anything with football, and we're right now I have on the side of me the Bears game, the Texans. It's football season, boys. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 125% sign up bonus up to $2,000. It's the go-to for all Detroit Lions and NFL related bets. Not to mention, I think this is a big part when you're placing bets. 24/7 customer service and live wagering on all major games. 24/7 customer service. You need that when you're placing bets. If something's going on, you have any questions, you need 24/7 customer service. I believe in that, and I'm a big gambler here. And if you lose, they also will give you 10% back on your net losses twice a year. Check out our BetUS link in the description below. You guys will see it down there. Make sure you guys go check that out. Go check BetUS out. You see it above me. You see it below me. You see it on the side of me. Everywhere. Go check out BetUS.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
All right, boys. Want to do one thing here. I know we might not get to a couple segments here because we only have 15 or so minutes left. I just wanted to play. Ben Johnson spoke with the media today, and I want to make sure we get that out here for the people because when Ben Johnson talks, I feel like you listen.
You need to listen,
especially in the midst of middle of training camp. You want to make sure, hey, this dude Ben Johnson, he might not be with us forever, fellas. he might not be with us forever. And then that sounds bad when I say that, like he could die or something, which everyone does die. But you guys know what I mean here. He spoke about the wide receiver four battle, guys, and I think that's like we keep talking about and bringing up the Darius Fountain. We talk about the DPJ. We just did the buy sell with him. I think it's good to hear it from a guy like Ben Johnson, who is probably the guy who's going to make the final decision, him and Dan Campbell, on who's going to be wide receiver 3, who's going to be wide receiver 4, who's going to be out there, and who are they going to cut. So I think it's interesting to hear exactly what he has to say about it. And they asked him. That's why I love the media. They say how it is. They'll ask the questions, and Ben has to answer. So here's Ben Johnson talking about wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, what that battle looks like. And he went into details on how they break it down and what they're looking at. So here's Ben on that.
Wide receiver at this point,
yeah, we've been pretty consistent as a staff, really since we knew that Josh Reynolds was leaving us. And that has been, we need smart, we need reliable, okay? And if we had to be picky, we want a little bit of length, okay? Just so it rounds out those 3 guys that we're anticipating entering the season with. So with that being said, we're charting every single day who's the most reliable, mental errors, who's catching the ball, who's dropping the ball. These guys see it. They get the feedback every single day. They know what's going on. They know they're in the midst of the battle right now. We got a number of guys competing for that spot. Reese has certainly come on so far in training camp. His physicality, his explosiveness has shown up. Antoine Green is still pushing on along here. We see growth from the springtime. We just need to see the consistency that we've been hoping for from him. DPJ has made some big plays for us. He had a big block just the other day in practice that we took note of. And we know what Khalif Raymond is. Like he's not to be overlooked either, because he's going to be a big part of our offense as well. So the competition is healthy. Those are a few names, but everyone is in it at this point.
Boys, I think it's fair to say that the competition is going. The Khalif thing, I don't know. Like the Khalif comment at the end, I think that's more so like him just saying like Khalif's not in this wide receiver 3 battle. Like he's gonna get Khalif's gonna be Khalif. I think it's fair to say like it's a legit battle. I'm interested. Like Antoine Green keeps getting brought up. It feels like Antoine Green's Ben Johnson's guy. I don't know why I get that feeling. He was hurt. I don't know if he went back in today. I didn't really realize. Like I saw he got hurt in the individuals. I'm not sure though if he ended up going in for 11 on 11. I don't remember seeing him, Klotz, but it feels like Ben Johnson likes Antoine by the sounds. I don't know. That's just me.
I mean, it definitely sounds like it, but I think he's probably just giving him a little bit of confidence because he's been doing well recently. And I do think there's guys that he likes more so than others, but I don't think he's going to let that block anything. And I think when you look at Donovan Peoples-Jones and mention him up, it's kind of in the same light. So he probably definitely likes what he's seeing out of Antoine Green, but I don't think he's favoring him by any means.
And one thing I just did notice is kind of like how we just brought up to DPJ, like what I said. I think they trust him. They think he's reliable, and that's something that he said that he's looking for right there. A guy that's reliable and that has length to kind of replace Josh Reynolds and what he brought. So I'm not taking too much away from that, but I do think, like I said, I still think Donovan Peoples-Jones edges his way out here in this wide receiver room and makes a spot for him. But like you said, Boone, this is a battle, and it's a good thing to have when you have a lot of guys that are, kind of battling for these lower end positions. Just shows how much depth you really do have at the position.
Yeah, that's why I think they end up keeping 2 out of those 3 guys, and then the other one is end up practice squad. I think it ends up being DPJ and Fountain, and I think as much as we hate it, I think Antoine ends up getting the practice squad. Unless they keep, I don't think they'll keep that many, but I think that's just what it comes down to because of the reps and everything. So I don't know. I don't know. He also too, Ben Johnson, he talked about Jameson Williams a little bit. I think this was the more interesting thing with JMO because the JMO situation, Klotz, we talked about how like the energy he's bringing and how different it looks here with JMO and kind of how he's been stepping up. And I have the thought process of I think JMO's going to have an even bigger year than people are thinking. Like I think he could go out there and get 800 yards and have 6 touchdowns. Like what you're seeing from him is different. And Ben kind of talked about it. And again, this is one of those things, boys. You hear it from a lot of people, but when the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, the best in the league, starts talking about Jameson Williams, that's when you're like, okay, we're serious. That's why, hey, Klotz, when he says Levi O, when these guys say Levi O, I listen.
Mm-hmm.
Use your context clues. Here we go. Listen, this is Ben on Jameson Williams.
Goddamn context clues.
Started feeling it towards the end of last year, and he's taken that to another level in the springtime and so far here in training camp. He prides himself on bringing some juice to the offense, and we certainly feel it out there, both in the passing game, making explosive plays, but he also wants to be a dynamic blocker as well, which we really value. So things have started to slow down mentally for him. We've locked him into a couple spots, and as a result, his route tree's kind of grown. It's developed, and in his mind, there's nothing he can't do. And so far, we really haven't seen that either. Haven't seen anything that he can't do. So it's been fun.
I think that was the biggest comment out of it, is that there's nothing that he can't do. And they say, like, hey, we've thrown everything at him, and he could do anything that we ask. Like, I think that's like the maturity of being in the NFL and being able to go out there, like the different route trees and kind of developing that, especially in different, if you're moving around a lot and the stuff he was going through with the injury and the gambling, like this guy now, it's like he's dialed in. They said we've thrown things at him. It's like Hendon Hooker. They're like, we're going to keep throwing things at Hendon Hooker and see what he can handle. And he hasn't been able to handle much. Jameson Williams are like, we're throwing everything at him and he can handle everything. And there's nothing that he can't do. Like, that's crazy.
I mean, yeah. So I thought you were going to go on a little preach sense there, Gentry, but no, JMO. Like I said, he's playing with confidence. I already spoke on it early. You can see that Jameson Williams is ready to take that next step, and I do think that they won't reach the production of the T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, but this will be probably like a top 5 wide receiver duo in the NFL, especially when you look at what Jameson Williams can do in the run game, kind of like how the 49ers use Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. You bet your ass that Ben Johnson is looking over what Kyle Shanahan is doing and not copying it, but like, oh, I like that. How can we use that with Jameson Williams? And you saw that against the 49ers to get the first touchdown of the NFC Championship game. So Jameson Williams, he's putting his game together towards the back half of the season last year, like a lot of the other players on this team. The chemistry is going to continue to build. He's going to get more opportunities. So I don't think there's anything else to say but big year for Jameson Williams.
Yeah, and like I said, I think one of the bigger things was like the confidence with JMO, and then I think ending the year getting those 2 big touchdowns in the NFC Championship. I think that kind of carried his mentality into this season, and like I said, he feels like he belongs. And I think right there was kind of just a realization that of Ben Johnson, kind of like, I got this weapon. He's finally here. He's everything that I wished he would have turned into. And I think, like you said, big year for JMO. He's going to go crazy.
Let's go, boys. Hey, with the JMO stuff, I pulled this tweet up. We're talking about JMO. Something we saw today, and this kept happening. They worked on special teams twice, this new kickoff rule. And I've seen it happen now in the Hall of Fame game a couple times. And it's a really weird, and people are going to have to get used to it, new kickoff. And essentially, and this is kind of how I take it, and you guys can interpret how you do. It feels like it's another offensive play, like a running play. And today, when they were repping it out, guys like Jameson Williams, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, to Jahmyr Gibbs were all back there returning kicks. And it's not like, this is where I want people to realize this too, until you see it. And I'm sure if you've been to camp or if you're watching the Hall of Fame game, this is not like the old kick return to where they just boot it down and you're running 30 yards and you could just get hit and you're just uncovered. This is like a legit play. And it feels like it's a running play. And I think that's the mindset. We saw Dan Campbell and Dave Phipp and stuff have JMO and these guys out there. I think they're trying to get a feel for it to say, hey, like, is this actually something? And then this is the thing that I talked about months ago. Is this something you can actually get yardages out and flip the field or get field position out of? And it feels like they're kind of giving that look. Are you guys like in or out on this? Klotz, I feel like I know what you're in or your spot is on this, but I want to hear both of you guys on this one.
I was just watching the Hall of Fame game, and I've watched 2 of these returners. One of them got killed, and one of them slipped because he knew he was about to get killed. Like, no. I think there's just so many variables that could happen that the Lions can't control here. Like, if they do the squib kick, like, I get that works better for a player to get up the field quicker, but there's going to be players flying at different angles, and you can't hit these players up high anymore. So they're going to be cutting them low. They're just going to be trying to get them down right away. I think this is honestly going to put like star players like Jamison Williams, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, if you put them back there, it definitely is going to put them at risk for injury. And I don't think there's that much gain compared to if you were to put a guy like Maurice Alexander, if you were to put Sione Vaki back there. Like, I don't think there's that much difference in what you're going to get out of it compared to the possible risk. Like I said, if there's 30 seconds left in the game, you're down by 6, and you need to go get any chance at points, then put JMO back there. But when you're talking about to kick off the game, to come out at halftime, no, please not put them back there.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I want to see it in a game first. And, like, obviously I wouldn't use one of my star players. But, like, after Lukas said, and he kind of just confirmed it, that, you know, you're, like, suiciding some of your players out there. I wouldn't put my stars out there. And for guys like Jameson Williams, Montgomery, and St. Brown, those guys have all had some injuries. So, like, to risk one of them getting injured on that, no. But if it was, like, a game-winning situation or, you know, you need one last drive, maybe you do throw Jameson Williams back there or you throw Jahmyr Gibbs. But, like, even St. Brown, like, there's no way in hell I'm throwing St. Brown back there. Like, no fucking way. After all the money you just gave him and what he means to your offense, like, it's just stupid. And like Lukas said, you could draft a guy like Sione Vaki and you have Maurice Alexander. You have a bunch of guys that you can use on special teams. So I think unless it's like a game on the line situation, I'm not even entertaining putting my star players back there.
Do it, boys. Let's do it. Let's put it back there.
There's a lot of guys that have speed, and there's a lot of guys that are actually made for the old special teams that can easily pick up on this. There's no reason to waste. You're hoping you have one of the top, you know, you're a top 5 offense. You think you're going to be one of the best offenses in the league. Why would you go out there and possibly take a chance on losing one of your best players in that top 5 offense? Like, it just makes no sense. There's guys that can return kicks, that can get yards, that can take one to the house from here and then. You don't waste your star players on that.
This is my thing though. Like, this is my thing is, and I would like to see more of it in the preseason. Like I've barely seen it here in the game tonight. I've looked down and I saw it once. The only one I saw was the guy that slipped. So I haven't been able to get to see like an actual one and what's happened. But I think just the fact alone that they're repping it out with those guys shows that they're taking a look at this. Like, this wasn't like, This wasn't, they were just repping it out and walking through it today. They were going 100%, it looked like, at it. Amon-Ra St. Brown got tackled during his return. Like, these guys are out there. So if they're repping it out in practice at full speed, I'm not so sure Dan Campbell doesn't care. Like, hey, we're here to win football games. And if they feel like this kick return can put them in better field position, if you have better players out there, because you could say, oh, you have Sione Vaki, you have these guys like Sione Vaki or David Montgomery, Sione Vaki or Jahmyr Gibbs, Sione Vaki or Jameson Williams, Sione Vaki or Amon-Ra St. Brown. Give me those guys over Sione Vaki 10 times out of 10. Like, if you're doing if it's 1st and 10 and you have a run play, are you going to give a jet sweep to Amon-Ra St. Brown or JMO, or are you going to hand the ball off to David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs, or are you going to say, hey, on 1st and 10, let's go out there and give the ball to Sione Vaki? Because essentially this is another, again, the feelings behind this, everyone in the NFL right now, is people are saying, hey, this feels like another run play. That's how some teams are treating it, because it feels like another run play. If you have an opportunity to get an extra possession, it's like saying you have, instead of 1st and 10, you have, like, you're getting an extra possession in that first like an extra play.
Yeah,
like, that's essentially what it is.
Booner, in that situation, if it's 1st and 10, I'll give it to those players. But if it's not 1st and 10,
but if it's you have extra play to get field position,
depth, right? Like, we have this depth that we're confident in the Detroit Lions offense. Let's put them to use. Like, let's not just, like, if they want to get better, let them develop. Like, Sione Vaki needs to improve as a runner.
I don't want guys to develop during the regular season when you're going for a Super Bowl.
Would you rather have guys develop or keep players getting hurt?
Because if they're not going to get hurt in those, I'm in.
I would be willing
to get hurt on 1st and 10 play.
I would be willing more to bet than anything else. If you consistently put star players back there, that if they don't get hurt on that, the hits that they take during those will definitely add up into injury.
That's where you're acting like it's the old kickoff return, to where they're going to be taking big hits.
Having 11 guys fly at you at once with very limited blocking setup.
That's where this isn't the case.
Are you watching what's happening?
I watched it.
What are we talking? The first one I watched, the guy got 15 yards and was getting his knees taken out from a guy at the left. And if you would have kept going, it'd been a guy from the right. This is setting.
Well, maybe the
important
Chicago
players.
Bears need to have a better special teams coordinator, huh?
Maybe
How
they do,
about
but
that?
players are going to make mistakes. And I'm not relying on a guy on the special teams unit to possibly put Jahmyr Gibbs or another key valuable part of this offense at risk. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
if it's
that's
Penei
fair.
Sewell
I'm not
put him
gonna
at risk,
argue with
I got
that with
confident
you.
in it.
I'm not
But
going to argue injury with you. If that's the thing, whatever. I just think there's an opportunity, even if it's situationally or not. This is essentially an extra play that's how the NFL is looking at it. If there's an opportunity, hey, we know we could put JMO out there and JMO could break one off and get you a better field position because you need it and you're down a touchdown. Okay, go do that. Like, there's a reason that Maurice Alexander was back there returning them too, is because they're probably going to use Maurice Alexander a lot in those positions. There was a reason other guys were back there. It's because they want to see who's the best at it, who's able. Like, it's a new thing. So, like, if Jameson Williams is the best of the team on it, you've seen Tyreek Hill in Miami return kicks. You've seen Deshaun Jackson when he was with the Eagles return kicks when he was wide receiver 1. Like, you've seen guys that do it. And if it's like a position to where this guy, like, we got to see everyone do it. And that's what I think they were doing today was they're like, we have to see Amon-Ra do it. We have to see Gibbs do it. We have to see David Montgomery. Like, who is the best at it? This is a new thing. Like, the reason, like, David Montgomery in a normal kick return would never return kicks. But like I said before, like, they look at this as another run play. They feel like this is an opportunity to where you can get blockers and guys like Demont, Jahmyr, they're shifty, they can make moves and they can get you extra yards. And if there are teams around the NFL that look at that as a positive, then I think that's fine to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's crazy. Situationally, maybe they just want to see who's the best.
It is not crazy. I will agree there, but outside of situationally, yes, it's crazy. Because where there's guys like Deshaun Jackson, there's guys like Jacoby Jones, there's guys like Devin Hester, there's guys like Trendon Holiday. Like, there's guys who are good kick returners, and I think that Brad Holmes and the Lions can absolutely find that on this roster. If not, go and get one.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think it's. I guess I get both sides. Like, I think there are going to be people around the NFL who put their stars out there, and I think there are going to be some who don't, just so they're able to. You don't want guys getting hurt. Everyone though, mailbag. Drop some mailbag questions. Well, we'll get into mailbag. We got 7 minutes here. We can get some good ones. It looks like we already have a handful of mailbags here. Oh, I don't want to do that one. That one was political. That was a political one. We don't want to do that. Do you guys see any mailbag questions here that you guys like?
If the Lions could, there you go.
Oh, I saw ETN. He said, "Will y'all still be doing streams when the Monday and Thursday night games are being played?" Yeah, we're going to be doing streams. The only ones that we won't be, well, we still will be, but when the Detroit Lions play on Monday night or Thursday night, we won't do a normal show. We'll be doing probably a pregame, and then we'll do our watch party, and then a post game. So, but we're going to be doing Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football as usual. Klotz, what was the one that you had?
Let me find it real quick. Mailbag. If the Lions could acquire one player before the season starts, what position would it be at? For me, definitely defensive end. Like, just get a pure defensive end, a guy that has been able to do it before, and you don't have to worry about rotating in and out.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I said. I think we've been kind of consistent on that. I would say maybe you go get a more sure thing at wide receiver, but a defensive end, that's got to be the number one need.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest one is the edge, honestly. Hey, real quick too, before we'll answer more mailbag questions. Did you guys see Jonah Jackson?
Yeah, he's already hurt. You said he's out. So when you said he's out for 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks or 6 weeks from now?
6 weeks from now. So it's essentially like potentially could be back for week 1 versus the Lions, but there's still a chance that he could miss. Like, obviously, like going through the, you don't know if a guy's, they'll say like 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his exact kind of case was, but it says, I think 6 weeks at least is my guess.
Yeah. And I mean, just long term, like if he's battling with injuries right now, like that's not going to go away if he plays week 1. And we've already seen with Jonah Jackson's, like the injury history with him, injuries do not go away. They linger. So this is probably exactly why Brad Holmes was like, no, I'm not paying you. That's not the money that you want.
Think about that too, because you upgrade, like Zeitler is a Pro Bowler.
It's a rental,
you got a rental Pro Bowler, but Zeitler plays a lot of football games. They asked him today, that the media asked him today, like how do you stay healthy and and he was like, and the stuff that people don't think about, he was like, when you fall obviously offensive linemen, when they fall, they get rolled up on a lot. Things happen. He was like just knowing where to fall. Like when you're going down, know which way, fall with your body. Like he was like, I've just always thought about things like that and doing treatment and things like he's like that. And there's guys who just aren't, who don't got a feel for it. And then they're always getting hurt. Jonah Jackson, potential one. And by the way, too, Klotz, before, what's up?
Just had a rough go. I'll update the chat. So you remember the text I sent you earlier?
Yep.
All right. So I had a $5 bet, chat. Oh, you can't even really see on my screen.
What
but
is
it was
it?
five different home run players to win $2,000.
Did it hit or no?
It did, but I cashed out because I was scared.
No way.
I texted you and said, don't cash out.
Oh,
I said, do not cash out.
I'm mad because I would have took some of that money. We would have been having a good time in Nashville tomorrow night.
Oh, I'm sick about
it. You sell out.
I said, do not. He texted me. He said, Booner, look at our group chat. And I looked at our group chat and it had there. And he said, check cash out. I said, no, hold.
I was just scared because honestly, I put it in way earlier, and the guy that
you were just scared. That's all it is. You were just simply scared.
Hey,
cash out is the worst thing in sports.
I took 500. I took 500, and it was off a $5 free bet. So I mean, it is what it is. The guy's been struggling, so I was hoping he bounced back. And what do you know? First at bat, he. Oh, it's terrible.
Who was the player you needed? Who was the last player?
It was like Michael Taglia or whatever. He plays for the Rockies. First at bat, sent one.
Gentry, bro, that is an all-time bad.
Bro just won $500 off 5, but he's still just fucking mad.
I know.
Look at the positive.
2,000 though.
Yeah, I know.
Booner, right with the fucking.
I'm one of those guys
I would have treated you guys very nicely tomorrow.
We would have had the weekend. Gentry would have had a fun statue walk. Yes. Made probably a couple stops.
A few.
But
the thing is, but to save my ass, so when I cashed out, I tossed 25 or 30, I don't remember what it was, on him to hit it solo. So I made an extra 200. So
you made 700.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, dude, that's dude. It's $5 to 700.
You might still have to make a trip then, Gentry.
What's that?
You still might have to make a trip then. Make some bets on the way down there.
Yeah. Oh, and Coach Walk says my weekend would have been paid for. I mean, in all reality, it was paid for either way. But that's just extra.
All right.
Whoa, what does that mean? Yeah, what does that mean? What do you have going on over there?
Bull's pulling out his fucking bankroll on us, apparently.
No, not like that. But we'll be fine.
Gentry, someone asked this. Steve Lehman said, BMG, way too early predictions, Wings making the playoffs. Do they?
Yeah, the Red Wings are making the playoffs. And I still think there is a couple moves that will be made before the deadline. I think a couple players will be offloaded. Maybe your goaltender situation will be fixed up. But yeah, if they're not in the playoffs, I'll be really pissed and disappointed. This is where I draw the line. This is the season. I don't care if you get in and you win 2 games and then you get bounced, but you have to be in there. And with the players you went out and signed, Tarasenko, you bring back Kane. That's what you're aiming for is playoffs. Anything less is a failure.
Hey.
No, and Andrew Jones, no, it wasn't a guarantee. I said I would hope they will, but I was still giving them next year. I said this year is the guarantee.
This sounds a lot like the narrative.
My friend D-Mac may have jumped the gun last year, but rightfully so, I think. I mean, we all kind of had that hype underneath the wings.
I feel very similar now. Gentry, am I wrong?
What?
Very similar situation.
What? As far as the Red Wings go?
Yeah, compared this season compared to last, as far as the optimism around them.
No, I think I'm more optimistic last year. Obviously, this year. I think last year you acquire Kane mid-season. You don't really know what you're going to get. Last season, you've seen what he can do. He's a point-per-game player. You hope DeBrincat takes another stride and is more consistent. And then, I've been consistent on this. Mo Sider's a top 10 D-man in the league, and he's only going to get better. So
can we say it's a lot?
Tarasenko is going to be a huge help for them. Like, you're replacing Tarasenko with David Perron, which was looking like he had I love David, but he was skating with weights on his ankles half of the years.
Taking shots. I want to look at something here before we get on.
Oh, taking shots.
Make playoffs. Let's see. Detroit Red Wings. All right. Are you ready for this? The
Yes.
Detroit Red Wings, Gentry. I feel like I should put my life savings on this to make the playoffs. Plus 124.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year was like plus 170. So, I mean, like they do play in the, toughest division in hockey, but like they have the pieces that can get it done. And if Dylan Larkin doesn't get injured last year, I mean, that's so shitty to say. It shouldn't come down to one player, missing some time. They should have still been able to make it without Dylan Larkin. But if Larkin was healthy and didn't miss that stretch of games, obviously after what happened to him, I think they were in it no matter what. Dylan Larkin is the piece that makes it go round. I've been saying that. Without him, this team is
world go
seems a whole lot of nothing, I think, without Dylan.
You know that song? Anyone?
What?
You spin my world right round. Or that song,
Yeah, we're just gonna let Booner take the L on
Wait.
that one.
Yeah, whoa. That was not an L. That was a great. Come on now.
That's not how you. I don't.
All right,
think those
boys.
Maybe we're thinking of different songs. But
It's Flow Rider song. All right, boys. We'll head out here. Make sure if you guys haven't yet, BetUS. You see it up there in the corner. Go hit up
check
BetUS.
it out.
Reminder, just so you guys know.
Don't cash out your bet on BetUS. Let it ride.
Yeah, always ride. We are not doing a show tomorrow from 8 to 10 p.m. We are off tomorrow. We will be back Monday from 8 to 10 p.m. talking everything. We'll update everyone. I think no more the Lions are practicing, but no more fans or anyone at practices the rest of the week. So we will see you guys. Make sure you guys have a safe weekend. We'll see you guys Monday. Crunch time. Love you guys. Like the stream as well. Love you guys. Peace.
Peace.